Hey everybody, welcome to the Switch Focus edition of the Fonz and Louie show, where we talk Nintendo Switch games and current news in nerd culture. I'm your co-host Fonz, here with Louie.
I'm Louie.
Today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and joining us on the show today is our good friend and Nintendo enthusiast, Gabe.
Hey guys,
What's up, Gabe? How's life been?
pretty good. Can't complain.
You can. You have the freedom to, but I'm glad you choose not to.
Yeah, gotta
Now,
look at the brighter side.
exactly. So, first up, guys, let's talk about our first experience with the Legend of Zelda franchise, starting with you, Louie.
Well, where do I begin? The Zelda franchise has been a big thing throughout my whole life. I remember my first game was, I believe it was Link to the Past. It's for Super Nintendo.
Yes.
That game alone changed my world. As recently, I've been playing Breath of the Wild. And even though I may be 15 to 16 hours in, I'm just amazed. Just being able to get back into that immersive world of my childhood with beautiful graphics, thanks to the Nintendo Switch, I'm definitely pretty stoked.
You've been playing a lot of Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? Which one do you have?
Pokemon Shield. Yeah, Pokemon Shield has definitely grabbed most of my attention as of now, but I definitely want to go back to Breath of the Wild, especially since we saw a sneak peek to a possible sequel.
For sure, sequel. Not possible.
For sure, sequel.
It's happening. They've shown the trailer. It's a done deal. I don't think they're going to back out now.
I guess I'm always a little
They better
skeptical.
not.
Yeah, right. I'm always a little skeptical just because I've been let down in the past when I'm waiting for a game and they're no longer in development. But Nintendo's different. Nintendo usually sticks to their games.
Kind of like Metroid 4, it was like announced like 10 years ago and it still hasn't come out. That among other things. Bayonetta also was announced 2017, still hasn't come out. You're right. We might have spoken too soon. But anyway, let's move on. Gabe, what was the last Zelda game you played, or what was your first experience with the Zelda franchise?
Oh man, I think it was Ocarina of Time, and but the latest one that I played was Hyrule Warriors. So
Yes.
yeah, it's a real fun hack and slash, and just the different people you get to play as. It's really fun.
Who's your favorite character?
Um, I gotta stick with the original. It's Link.
You just like playing Link?
Yeah,
See, my
gotta.
kids are split. They like the Rivali warrior. I forget his name. That winged guy with the Birdman with the bow and arrow.
Oh yeah, that guy.
He's
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, I'm a Link man myself. See, my first experience was watching Luis play A Link to the Past, and I was like, "Whoa, dude, this game is epic." But for me, when Zelda really hit home was when my mom bought me that GameCube for Christmas, and it came with the collector's edition of Ocarina of Time remastered for the GameCube, Majora's Mask, and I think Wind Waker, and there was a demo for another game. Dude, it was epic. I mean, I'd play it all the time, and then Luis got on and beat it before me, which I was kind of upset about. But then he got to the places that I could never get past because he was just such a better gamer than I was. But I got to experience watching him finish the story so I could copy everything else and then finish it myself. I'd hop on his game sometime just so I can experience all the different masks that he had unlocked so I can enjoy it a lot more than where I was at.
Wow, I never knew this. That's pretty awesome. I mean, I,
This is how I learned.
when you bring up the challenges, I remember playing Link to the Past, and just the memories I had of the difficulty of just going out to the world and just getting frustrated, trying the bosses over and over again. I mean, this was a world before YouTube, before you can go online and look at like how to
Right.
do a mission. You really had no choice except for maybe the hearsay from your friends in school. But for the most part, you spent hours and hours to figure the game out. I mean, that's all you really had, so you were willing. And I would say that was definitely something that made the game quite lucrative. Like, wow, I finally got through this boss after
Yeah,
two
you feel
days.
fulfilled. You figured it out on your own,
Yeah.
before you could look it up on the internet and all these walkthroughs are around and you can honestly, it's like picking a Starbucks. Which one do I like? Because there's so many options for walkthroughs back then. You had to figure it out or
Yeah.
hope your older brother could finish it for you.
There definitely was a dynamic in adventure and exploration that I have yet to feel that with current gaming. And I would say Nintendo does bring me a little flavor of that back, and it has gotten me excited. Like Breath of the Wild has definitely been one game where I felt that all over again. And I try really hard not to go on YouTube. I mean, as an adult now, I have less time as a kid, but to this day, like I'm taking my time. Unless it's like some puzzle shrine where I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna beat my head for hours. This one's different. But when it came to the difficulty of a boss, definitely, I want to experience that on my own. I know Fonzo, we had mentioned one of the shrine bosses with the three drops of three elemental weapons. That was a great
Oh yeah,
example.
we're gonna get to that.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get to that because oh my
Yeah,
goodness, those shrines.
I was the type of the guy that would always be able to buy the strategy guide, and I wouldn't look at it until I beat the boss. But then I'm like, I knew I missed something. So then I'll crack open that book real quick, and I'll be like, "Yep, I did not get that."
Yeah, right. To 100% the game. There's just some things you just never
Yeah.
find unless you're one of the guys who makes
Hmm.
the strategy guide. I think the first strategy guide I ever had was the one that we had for Oblivion for the Elder Scrolls.
That's the
That
one.
was the only strategy guide I had. And the coolest thing about strategy guides, I think, was the artwork.
Yeah.
You get to see the cool artwork that they have. Like it's
Yeah.
more than just a strategy guide. It's like an art book, anthology with more history, and it was definitely worth the money that it costs you to help you get through the game or not. It was still an awesome, uh, you know, feature from the game to have with you as a hard copy.
I would get that.
Yeah. Actually, oh sorry. What's it called? My first strategy guide was actually from Pokemon Red.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh, nice.
taking
From
it
the regular
back.
GameCube or GameCube Game Boy Color with the little light that you had to attach to the Game Boy just so you could play at night, and then the wires you had to
Oh
connect
my
to try to trade with
goodness,
people. Man, that was good times right there.
those were good times
That
way back when.
That must have been really fun to have a Pokemon Red because, like Alfonso mentioned, I remember having the Oblivion one, and like he said, it was the artwork. I mean, just the texture itself. It felt like a really old book. You would almost get into like a role
Yeah.
play, like a character, like, oh, that's my special book, antique book. I remember even taking it to my part time job at the time, and during my breaks, just looking it over, and I found myself liking that more than the game at times. Just going through the quest lines and the stories.
They're pretty awesome. Well, let's move on to what we came to talk about. We are here to talk about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was released in 2017 for the Wii U, surprisingly, which I don't think did any of us have the Wii U?
I did.
You did? What did you think
Yes.
about that? Was it a waste of money or was it interesting enough?
Um, I gotta say, I think it was a waste, a waste because I didn't really play it too often, to be honest. Other
Yeah.
than the normal, like all the Zelda games, which was pretty much it. And that's the only time I really picked it up. It never really made me want to like stretch out to other games.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I what's it called? It was good. It was alright.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that they ended up releasing it for the Wii U and for the Nintendo Switch to critical success. IGN and GameStop both gave it a 10 out of 10, which is not an easy thing to do. I actually listened to a podcast recently about all of the IGN uh, 10 ratings that they gave, and there's not a lot of games that they've given 10 out of 10 ratings since the rating system had changed. It's a multi-award winner, Game of the Year winner 2016, 2017, 2018, to name a few. I mean, you can look up all the awards that it's won, and it beats out most of the games that are out there. Arguably considered the greatest game of all time.
Wow.
Do you agree? Put it in the comments below. Let us know if you think it is the greatest game ever made, and what's your argument? What do you guys think? I'm gonna open it up to our co-host, Louis. Do you think it's the greatest game of all time? One of? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's definitely something that I remember from my childhood. It's when you can get the opportunity to just immerse yourself into the world. It's something that's really special. I mean, I remember the times that I couldn't wait to come home from school, to turn on my games and just dive right into it. It's one of those things that it's memorable from my childhood that as an adult, I still seek that desire of exploration and adventure.
For sure. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, it's man, it's hard because I'm actually just a real sucker for open world games, and the fact that they just brought Zelda, Link, and all that into it is just it got me super, super, super excited. I when it came out, I had it, I was playing it, and it was nonstop just playing it because it's just I'm the type of person that I will explore every inch. I will open every box. I will kill every monster, even though it's not part of the quest. So it's to me, it was just so much fun. It is definitely one of the best games out there, in my opinion.
For sure. Absolutely. I've always been a sucker for Zelda games, and the fact that a Zelda game came out to be open world as it is and just have all of the features that you love about games. I was always a big Elder Scrolls fan for that reason, that it was open world. You could choose what kind of weapons guy you are. The only thing that I don't know if it's possible, but I was always the dual wielding sword guy. I don't know if they can do that. Can you do that in Breath of the Wild?
Well, I believe you can't.
That's
Yeah,
the
no, I don't
only
think there is
bummer.
dual wielding. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't believe so.
but when that wasn't available, I was always a sword and shield kind of guy. I know some people like to have the sledgehammer or the huge great sword or claymore. Like I was always I wanted to have two hands available, and I love the customization. The armor, if you're a light armor guy, and I love that in Breath of the Wild, the different armors help you in different way, and you need them really all. You can't just stick to one armor the whole game because I mean, there's just so many things that they think about that the cons are so few that all of the good things completely overwhelm everything that's wrong with the game. So I'd agree and say it is the greatest game of all time, if not definitely one of the top three.
You know, and and
Yeah, also it brings a challenge. Like, I mean, we're gamers. I mean, if you're just gonna have a one suit, there's nothing more into that. Okay, I got my one suit. Now what? But now
Yeah,
because you have multiple suits, that's what sucks us more in. Like, yes, I gotta have all the swords, all the shields, all the bows, all the armors, and that's just it's what we need it.
you have to have it. And actually, you're required to have some of them for certain missions, right, Louis?
yeah, and I like that you mentioned the sword and board fantasy. You know, I remember I heard this, and I believe it was the comments that I was reading when I was looking at the new RuneScape, the RuneScape 3. It's not new; it's been out for a while, but it's the newer of the RuneScapes. And someone had said that this MMO represented that classic medieval fantasy game, right? And of all the games that I've played, like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, they have the sword and board character, and it does have its genuine popularity. But when it came to Link, that knight, that almost looks like a Robin Hood archer. It was just that perfect balance that is unique to Link, right? He's not well, and maybe in some gates, but he's not full plated in armor. He's like this archer looking dude with a sword and shield, right? And that definitely was like got me into that role play, right? You had mentioned that you preferred the shield and sword, and same here. Like even though the dual wielding is really cool in other games, oh, I go off on dual wielding or double handed weapons. But for that, I just felt like it was just right, especially that shield. That blue silver iconic shield was just so perfect in that game.
Yeah, and what you can do with that shield. It's an another weapon in of itself that makes it just that much better. That it's not a shield only for blocking purposes, but to deflect and to knock back your enemy, to ride it like a surfboard down a mountain. Like they really
Yeah.
capitalized on the shield in this game. So for us who love the shield and sword combo, it's a plus. Now let's move a little bit into the background of the story for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about. Where have you been for the last like 4 years? So, story begins. Link wakes up after a 100-year hibernation with some amnesia. to a totally devastated Hyrule that is under the control of Calamity Ganon, a huge purple energy dragon wrapped around Hyrule Castle. Zelda is also trapped in the castle with Calamity Ganon, doing battle in the hope that Link will wake up and help her defeat Ganon. That is where you, the player, comes in to help and where your story begins. Now, what attracted you guys to Breath of the Wild? Starting with you, Louie.
I mean, if I'm honest, mainly the Zelda bias, but after looking at the trailer, I mean, the huge green landscapes, the rolling hills, it was just that beautiful, and then the castles in the background with the volcano back there that you just want to go and visit, but you're too afraid to go in the beginning. I'm always playing the game like, yeah, I'll get to that later. Once I have maybe 10 hearts, I'll come over there and see what's going on with this volcano.
Right?
Yeah. Especially after
I'm not ready for that yet.
How difficult these monsters are. Like recently today, I did play a little bit, and I was fighting the centaur. I'm not sure their names just yet, but there's a centaur who has this big, huge blade, and I made it like a thing where I was like, I'm gonna go and try to beat this guy. No success so far. I did.
Like
I did
centaur
sneak,
with a lion head.
I did sneak up on him, and you can jump on its back and do some damage, but I run out of stamina, and he turns around and one shots me with the sword.
That's part of the greatness of the game. The one-shotted, the enemies that can kill you in one blow. Quite realistic in that sense.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Gabe? What attracted you to Breath of the Wild?
Very, very similar to what Luis had said. I mean, like I said, I love the Zelda franchise. I've played a lot of the games, the Link Between Worlds on the DS, yeah, like a Hyrule Warriors, like I said. But yeah, again, the open world and Link is just two of the things I love put together, and I'm like, yo, this is sick. And then the graphics was just amazing as well. And then yeah, as I'm playing, it's a game not just you go and kill everything. You actually really got to strategize because I caught very on the more monsters you kill, the more harder they turn because they know that you could beat them. And now I wasn't ready for that because I was just over here killing everything. I was like, well, maybe I could like level up or get stronger, but no, they rebutted fast and hard. And I was like, whoa, okay. I need to like start
Yeah.
doing this game because the game's gonna swallow me and I'm not
Like
gonna be able to do
grow it.
anything.
Yeah, it's a grow as you go kind of game. The game
Mhm.
grows with you as you progress. It progresses to get harder and more challenging with you, so you never really outgrow it.
Mhm.
It never gets old in that sense. And Gabe, you were actually very influential in me wanting to get the game. When you first, when it first came out, you had it and you brought it to work and you were showing it to me, and I was like, no way, this can't be a Zelda game. Like, there's too much freedom and there's so many things that you can do. You had, all the armor, you had, you were combat, and it looked epic. Like, it looked to me like an Elder Scrolls type game, but it was Link, and he didn't have the shot, and he wasn't young Link. He was grown up Link looking hardcore and some like gnarly armor and fighting some enemies and the combat, the I mean, year after year, getting the awards that it got. And I mean, it came out in 2017, and even now, it's still constantly being talked about. There's people are constantly making videos about it where they're discovering new things, and it's outgrown itself, and it's gonna become a timeless classic. I think it's gonna be one of those games that everyone just revisits every once in a while on their Switch system, even years after there's been a next gen Nintendo console. I just don't think it's going to be one of those games that goes away with time. It's the first of its kind for sure, and it's comparable to. I was on the fence between getting Skyrim for the Switch or Breath of the Wild, but just looking at all the videos that there are about Breath of the Wild out there, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I was sick and tired of climbing mountains in Skyrim, like glitching my way up them. In this game, you can climb every mountain that's out there, and there's just no limit to your exploration. And I mean, that's just a great game.
If you can see it, you can get there.
Exactly.
You got
If you can
tired of
dodge a
taking
wrench,
arrows to the knee, huh?
dodge a ball.
Arrow to the knee.
Exactly. I missed it. I mean, that is also a classic. But I'm also, partial to the Elder Scrolls. But I mean, now I think as I played Twilight Princess and I kind of played Skyward Sword, and I just felt like there wasn't really much innovation until Breath of the Wild came out. It completely reinvented not just the Zelda franchise, but did what gaming can do with a timeless character and story. Um, Zelda and Link. Like, times can Link come to Zelda's rescue and it still be interesting.
Hmm.
Nintendo somehow pulls it off with Mario and the
Hmm.
Legend of Zelda franchise. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think we all agree. Now, this is going to get a little more interesting. What should people know before they buy this game? Louis, what do you think?
Hmm. That's a great question. I would say now, after having my hands on it for some time, is to give it a chance. And you might need to have a new perspective when playing this game. So I would argue that this game kind of entails a lot of the difficulties we faced in the past, and that it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I would say games have gotten easier over time. Gabe actually mentioned something that was really cool: 100%ing a game. Like how much have we 100%ed a game before? I mean, currently as before. I still remember playing Spiral the Dragon as a kid, and I only had the demo. I only had the demo at this time. I was a kid, that's all I had. And I played the crap out of this demo. Every inch of that first level, I knew it like the back of my hand. You know, and I felt that with Breath of the Wild. I really do feel that there's a couple times I know I can teleport to the shrines, but I don't. Along the way, I just want to see, like, I want to see everything. I want my eyes to see everything. And so when expressing that with people who may have not played the game or they're thinking about playing the game, it's one of those games where it's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult, but it's a good thing, and especially if you allow it, you'll feel great. Like I mentioned before, defeating a really difficult boss. I mean, if you struggle too much where you're banging your head on your desk, yeah, look up a video, but balance it. I would say balance the difficulty with fun.
Yeah, it definitely boosts your confidence the more that you travel on foot instead of
Mm-hmm.
teleporting to the shrines. You combat enemies that allow you to be more confident uh, in further combats because they're just going to get harder as you go, and the more shrines you discover, the harder it is to get into those shrines and to climb up to those towers. There's guardians and there's mountains of bokoblins and the other huge guys, and you just have to face them at some point. And traveling allows you to get used to the combat mechanics that allow you to become a better player and grow with the game as it grows more challenging. And of course, once you go to an area that's super challenging, you can realize I'm not ready for this area and I'm going to go try another side of the map. It might just be a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Gabe, what should they before they play this game?
Yeah, I think they definitely do need to. I agree with Luis. They need to go in with the open mind and they got to get ready to buckle up because, man, this game is so similar, but it's very different at the same time. Just the amount of stuff you can do. And for me, this game was just pulling me and pulling me and pulling me. The more I played, the more I found out different things I can do, the more I wanted to figure out more what I can do and just dive deeper and deeper. The game is really, really, really like it was addicting to me. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to play it all the time. Like you even said, I brought it to work just to play it on my lunch. I was playing it. I was supposed to be eating when I'm playing. I'm here playing Breath of the Wild instead of eating.
And then you come back to the classroom like, dude, I'm hungry. Then again,
Exactly.
you're always hungry. But yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For me, I don't know if you're like me, and learning more about the game, uh, and learning spoilers doesn't ruin it for you, then go on YouTube, watch as many videos as you can, because that's what got me into it, and that's what got me to buy it after years and years of it already. The more I saw about it, the more I wanted to play. and the game doesn't hold your hands by any means. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to figure out
Mm-mm.
things like cooking, damaged weapons, and weather. It's crucial to your survival. So you got to get ready to die a lot and not be discouraged because the game doesn't really punish you for dying. It's definitely one of those games that's like a failure leads to success. The more you die, the more you learn about your enemy and your own combat style. So you have to plan and think ahead. But the more knowledge you have about the gaming mechanics and the tools at your disposal, the better off you'll be playing the game so you won't get as frustrated. And just utilize, I mean, no one's going to judge you if you go to the walkthrough and read your way through because at the end of the day we just want to get to Calamity again and free Princess Zelda, right?
Yeah.
So let yourself have a little grace game in any way that you can. You guys agree?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
For
It's
sure. Now,
the more you know, it's like it's crazy because I remember in part of the game that you gotta even pay attention to what you're wearing because there's a part of the game
yeah.
where you don't have to worry about the enemies. You gotta worry about the weather
So
because if
Yeah, the
you're
true.
environment.
if you're wearing metal in the middle of a storm, you're gonna get zapped.
You learn that the hard way if you don't watch the videos.
Yep, you learned
Exactly.
that the hard way.
I remember I was like, why am I lighting up? What's going on?
And if you're carrying the lightning sword, same thing. I thought, if you're Raiden and you're the thunder god, you shouldn't be scared of a lightning storm. No, apparently if you have lightning in your hands, walking through a thunderstorm is not a good idea. You will get electrocuted. So learn from our mistakes, learn from the YouTubers' mistakes, and watch some videos before you play the game. Speaking of all the crazy things about the game, uh, Louis, what's your favorite thing about Breath of the Wild?
Yes, perfect segue. When we mentioned lightning, Gabe, you had mentioned cooking as well. I would say my favorite part is all the things you can do in the game, and then all the things that have environmental effects. For example, I haven't tested this yet, but I remember there was an island where you lose all your gear, you lose everything. Like you're literally in your boxers in an island, right? And there's a giant there that you fight in the middle of the island, and when I had my swords on, because it would rain there frequently, and then you would have your lightning storms, I was always wondering, I wonder what would happen if I went underneath the giant as soon as a lightning bolt hit, like would it attack it and one shot it or something. And the reason why is because I started seeing that there was a lot of environmental factors in this game. As Gabe mentioned, the clothing, the weather will be your enemy. Um, when I put my torch down and it would light up a grass field, and then all the monsters in the way would die in flames. It was just all those little things that I really enjoy about the game. Just that, we talked about how we know the story. Link saves Zelda. But what's new about this game, and I really enjoy, is the environmental factors. Now, I'm not sure if different games have that going on. Maybe Gabe can help us out with that. But in this, I'm impressed. Like whatever you do in the environment, where it's wind, using your leaf for wind to push a sailboat, using your shield as a snowboard. I mean, there's a lot there.
Yeah, Gabe, why don't you let us know what your favorite thing about Breath of the Wild is, and maybe you can shed some light on Luis's question about other games and the environment being a factor.
Um, I wish I could help, honestly. But no, I mean, I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse. It's the total open world. I just love exploring. Like, I'll push the mission somewhere else, put it to the side, um, and I'll just explore and just check out scenes and climb a big mountain and just check out the range of the beautiful scenery that Nintendo always has done great with that game, and it's really awesome. Um, yeah, I think that's what my favorite part of the game is, just because I'm totally the type of person that I will go do like all the side missions before I even start the main mission
Oh yeah.
because I
Yeah,
want to know everything already before like the game. So it's like all
it's
those
kind of
memes. It's like
essential.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
want the
like
game
those
to run
memes. The
out.
first boss is like,
Yeah, that's a big thing in this game. It's like normally other games you can really get by without doing any of the side missions, but I feel like just on experience gained alone in the game by doing the side missions and the things that you discover, they'll help you so much in getting to Calamity Ganon. And what I love is that the game gives you the opportunity to get to the end by skipping everything really if you want to, but you just can't, unless you've figured out the glitch to getting to the end without, doing all the rest. But there's so much freedom in that game that you want to explore every nook and cranny, and hope that you're that one person that discovers something new, or it's just new to you, so you're happy about it. But for me, one of the the best things I think about Breath of the Wild is the simplicity
Mm.
of your character's development. I love that there's no like ability tree that I have to like strategize
mm,
building him up and what type of character he needs to be. Like, dude, I'm such a story centered guy. That's why I'm an English major. Like for me, I just want to get to the end and not have to try to decide how many points I want to designate to my defenses, how many points I want to designate to my magic ability. And it's like, that's just so tiring to me. And I always end up clicking like default, default, default. Like, this is just wasting my time. I want to move on. I don't really care if my guy is all defense or all attack. Like, I just want to move on. And with this game, you don't link levels up because of how you play, and your enemies develop at how you play. Like the technology that they use for leveling up kind of as you go and as experienced as you become yourself is perfect, because I think most casual gamers are really not interested in ability trees and strategizing that aspect of the game. Like that's better for other games that are more involved. And I feel like for this game, it's just so simple. You want to get to the puzzles, you want to figure them out. They're challenging. The enemies that you explore are challenging, but they're like challenging depending on the area and even the time of day. Like I started to hate nighttime; it gives me anxiety, and just each area is so vastly unique. From going to where the Zoras are at and the water and how beautiful it looks, and then going to the desert and in the mountains, and each city kind of having its own feel. You just you your eyes fed tasty food from different places, and the people are different conversations. They react differently to how you're dressed. Like it's just so cool, and it never gets old. Now let's talk about least favorite things about Breath of the Wild. Louis, what do you not like about this game? Very few things, but there are some. Nothing is perfect.
Every time I get a beautiful weapon and it only lasts me like 10 hits. The weapons breaking is by far the most frustrating thing in that game. Although I do think about it, like if the weapons did not break, I wouldn't spend so much time or I would get excited when a new weapon would drop. I did consider that. I did consider what it would be like if there wasn't the fatigue system or repairs. Oh well, you can't repair them, but basically that they break. So yeah, I mean it is frustrating, but I'm curious to see what it would have been like without that feature.
I think the whole world agrees with you there. I mean, how many times have we just absolutely adored a weapon that comes just at the right time when you're just like, yes, this is the type of weapon I can get behind. And you're like, but wait, now I don't want to use it ever, just so that I can have it in my possession and not lose it.
And what's with the rusty deal? It's like,
Rust
why can't I
barely
fix
use
this?
this as is.
that's why. That's why you always got two. You always got two of that weapon. I always had one hanging in my little house, and then one in my inventory.
Well, not everyone is as rich as you, Gabe.
Oh,
Not
there is.
everyone has bought a house.
Yeah, there is.
We are
housing.
working on that.
I haven't got a
Yeah,
house yet,
you
but I
can
heard
bring-
about it.
There's housing in it. Yeah.
You got to make that money. You gotta go mining, spend some days mining. It's like going back to those RuneScape days, which I found, dude, there's some food that you can make that's worth over 100 rupees. You can just spend your days kind of as a top chef for some time, just like we, in RuneScape we'd cook lobsters until our until our time at the library was done, and then you just sell them
That's
and
another
make a
story.
killing. You can get your rune armor and go PvP in the wilderness. But anyway, yes, another story for another time. Gabe, what's the least favorite thing about Breath of the Wild for you?
No, I would just have to, yeah, the weapons. But it's a love hate thing though, because I feel like if you just had that weapon and it didn't break, then you would just stick to that weapon because you like it, you know the abilities, and you're used to it. I don't think it would get you to change or to experience the other weapons because we always tend to just like stick to what we're comfortable with, and we see another weapon. Oh, that's cool, but I got my sword and I'm good. You know?
There's something interesting
It's
about that I wanted to mention real quick. I remember Ocarina of Time being a very well-rounded game. Okay, and then I believe right after that was Majora's Mask, and I remember playing Majora's Mask, and I would miss having the well-rounded style of game that Ocarina of Time brought. But at the same time, that level of difficulty of having to play the Song of Time to start over before the Great Calamity was fun later on, not in the beginning. And I'm curious to see like the game. I didn't really get to play the games past Majora's Mask, and I'm assuming in those you didn't have the weapon breaking system. So I wonder like what type of flaws those games had. Not flaws, but like your challenges that those games had. Because I think like this is unique to Breath of the Wild, the breaking, the weapon breaking system. Or I could be wrong. Those games in between, I don't know much about.
So some of the like for Link Between Worlds, I believe on the DS, you had different like weapons kind of, but they weren't really weapons, they were more tools. You had a claw, you had this little what was it? I think it was like a leaf that would help you like fly up, but it was to help you complete the mission you were on. So they weren't you could use them as weapons if you wanted to. You could use the claw to grab enemies and whatnot, but they made you like kind of switch was to there's a I don't know, like a rock on the other side of that cliff, and you can't get it unless you have the grappling hook. So you get the grappling hook to get that to help you with this mission.
Mm.
That's how they made you like switch uh weapons is how I think of it.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's really cool about the weapons breaking, as frustrating as it is that it forces you, like you guys were saying, to utilize other tools, and you kind of have to be an archer. Like you have to be a Legolas character. Like you got to be an archer first. He always pulled out his bow and shot his enemies as much as possible, and then pulled out the swords when it was necessary. And it forces you to be a little more versatile as a combatant, because you can't always use that sword and shield combo, because then your shield goes away, especially if you have as many pot lids as I have, because those are my main shields. I'm not using the Guardian shield for anything, dude. I'm saving that one for Calamity Ganon. But no, I use pot lids most of the time, because you use it to slide and it breaks. You use it as often as you do for most of the enemies that you face that are minor enemies. But I use spears first, because the enemies that I'm I feel least confident about, I always want to have my sword and shield ready. So I usually utilize my least favorite weapons first, um, like spears and great swords and even axes, because other weapons have other functionalities. You kind of have to have that metal weapon to start fires. You need to have the bigger weapons to break the to go mining and get those break those rocks that are clinging to the sides of the mountain, so you can get the ore and the gold or whatever is hiding there. And you need the axes to cut down trees. So just like the other game you were talking about, they have different uses. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have that versatility. And I think your weapons breaking forces you to utilize different weapons and find out what works for you and when to use it. I found that a lot of times I kill my enemy and then use his weapon to kill the rest of the enemies so I can save my own.
And although
But
although frustrating, it's well balanced. I was just thinking about this as you were explaining the different tools for the different jobs. Pokemon, for example. At a certain point, you get wealthy enough to just only buy Ultra Balls, and you will only
yeah,
use Ultra Balls. The Great Balls, the Pokeballs, they go obsolete because you have just an enormous amount of wealth, right? And it's no longer reasonable to use anything but your Ultra Balls. Now, with this game, it does provide that. It provides that feature that allows you to micromanage your weapons. And I think that now looking at it from this perspective, it's brilliant actually. Although it's frustrating in the beginning, it's brilliant because yes, it does make you have a level of replay value, I would say.
absolutely. But I do wish that there was a way to repair rusty weapons or like give me a chance. Like, dude, if you really love a weapon, like let me collect I'll collect some ore and some rocks and I'll go work at a blacksmith and fix my like favorite sword. Like just give me the option. Like there's other swords, weapons I could care less. Cool, I'll throw it at an enemy. I could care less and just get rid of it. But there's some weapons you kind of grow attached to
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, "Please, just tell me when it's breaking and let me have the option to fix it." So
And then you don't use them. I realize the weapons you love the most, you don't use them. They're like hiding in your bag. Oh, there you are, precious. I won't
I
use you
know.
today.
That's my trophy. You're just like, I like to look at it sometimes. One day I'll use it, but just not today. Another thing I don't like, I don't know, maybe you guys like this. I hate Blood Moon. Like I just find nearest fire and wait until morning because I'm like, I'm not about ready to be attacked by a million enemies that are all crazed at night. I have enough fear. This is why I stayed away from Resident Evil games. But then you're gonna come at me where my bokoblins turn into zombies
It's a
and
zombie
they're all
time.
crazy powerful. You're like, no, no.
Not in
I
this
didn't buy
game.
this game because it's a horror game. Let it still be innocent.
I
So,
totally forgot about that, man. I haven't played Breath in a while. I totally forgot about that they got stronger at night.
Especially like when the only game you get is when you put your kids to bed and it's like the twilight hours of the night and then you're playing the game all excited and it's really quiet and peaceful and then the blood moon comes out and you're like, dang, dude, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and now the blood moon's gonna come out and it's gonna be freaky. Like, I don't need this in my life, man. Anyway, I digress. Tips and tricks. What did you guys
Hey,
discover
oh,
in the game that you did not, watch it online, but you just discovered it and you were just like, what? People need to know this. Louis, what's something you discovered?
fire. Yeah, and the environmental effects of fire. Like
It's a very caveman response.
I
Raka,
Raka.
I discovered fire.
I, I did not look at video. I discovered Raka.
I'm,
No.
I'm pretty sure you get a torch like right away.
Yeah, no. It was more like how I was able to use it in a way where so as you mentioned, there's certain areas that are quite challenging. There's a lot of enemies. I remember sneak was a big one, but it was also the use of fire. For example, if there was brown like wheat looking grass, like it was just a field of wheat, that was the best. And I would just lay down the torch and then the fire would just escalate. Sometimes I did use a leaf and blew little gust winds at it to keep it going, and it would start spreading all over the place. And then all the enemies would what do they get? The question mark and then the exclamation mark, and then like, burning. So I would say that was one thing I didn't look up. There was several things I looked up, but that was definitely one that I found out on my own.
Yeah, how to utilize fire. Yeah, that's a good one. What about you, Gabe? Words and tricks that you discovered that were like super other people should
uh,
know this.
like I said, I haven't played it in a while, and I honestly cannot remember something that I have discovered in the game. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that one. Sorry.
Did you complete the game 100% or at least uh finish story?
No, I have not 100%ed it because I know there were some DLCs that dropped for it and which added more on. So yeah, I mean, I just thought I do everything except collect all those Korok seeds because oh my gosh, there was like oh I think there was like about 500 and all you needed was like 200 to 300 to have everything that you need, but they overdid it and they were like, well, let's give them 500 and they really wanted 100% it, then they could get all the seeds.
Yep, just make it longer. Did you defeat Calamity Ganon though?
Yeah, I did beat the storyline. I defeated Calamity Ganon, and yeah, I mean, it's not something that I discovered on my own, but it's something that I worked on a lot, which would really help you is the reflect technique
Mm.
with your
Mm,
shield. When
yes.
especially when those what are they called again? Those little robots or the big robots that shoot those lasers at you.
The Guardians.
And yeah, the Guardians, if you could get that good, you're smooth sailing to fighting those Guardians because man, I had a hard time trying to do it one leg at a time and then try to run around every time he charged up to shoot me and then I'd finally like try to hit his eye. But once I got down that reflecting, I was like, dude, I'll take like three of you on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep, those things are super helpful. Yeah, for me, let's see. Feeding the dogs to lead you to treasure, that was kind of a big deal. When you see the stray dogs and you feed them meat and they lead you to some treasure, that's pretty cool. Because I mean, I think like when I was trying to figure out how to hold food, because it took me forever to figure out how to cook, I was just like, how does it work? There's clearly a pot here and there's fire. And I kept pressing like A. You know how you're just used to games holding your hand when you see something that you can react with, it's usually you press one button and you can, it'll open a menu bar and you pick what you want to do with it. But this game, you have to hold it and then drop it into it. And so for me, figuring out like what I can react, like what I can interact with while holding something was like, I'm gonna try this. And I first tried it with a horse, and I know you can like figure this out like by watching a video, but for me, like to figure this out on my own and then later on see it in a video, I was like, what? Like this is so cool, Because you can interact with your animals, like your horse. I mean, you have. I thought I was gonna be able to keep, but it helping me find treasure is just as cool. Like, dude, imagine I can have a horse and I can have a dog follow me around. That'd be sick. But I'm sorry to disappoint everyone. Unless you have the Twilight Princess wolf amiibo, you don't get an animal to follow you around. But I thought that was pretty cool. You feed the dog, you just hold the meat in your hand in front of the dog or put it down on the ground, and it'll eat it and it'll lead you to some treasure. Um, Another thing, headshots. I didn't realize by hitting something on the head with your bow,
Mm.
it can either you can one shot some things that are pretty weak, um, or it takes a heck of a lot of life when you are shooting your knees either in an eye or whatever it may be. And of course, flipping your remote upside down to finish that one shrine where you have to get the ball through a maze. I don't know if you guys figured that out, and it really only works with the Pro remote because you can't just put your whole Switch upside down because then you can't see the screen. But if you have the Pro remote, when the ball's down and you have to like, try to work that thing through the maze, apparently you can. I was like, I'm just gonna try it because there's like when I saw it, I'm like the other side's flat, maybe it'll be easier. So I flipped it upside down and I'm holding the remote like that and I just held it this way and it started coming down and I whoop at the last minute and the ball went the way down. And then I'm all like, wait a second, the treasure was inside the maze. So then I had to go back, flip it back upside down so that I could get to the maze and then jump on it. And then I realized How am I going to get back? I have to fly back from the maze over there, and I'm clearly at a decline, so it'd be easier for me to come back. And then you just jump off. You eat a piece of meat and then jump off, and then you end up on the other side. But those are the little things. I felt really proud of myself figuring out on my own without the internet's help. But there were plenty of other things that I had to look at the internet to help me. But another good one is cooking food and selling it for a lot of moolah. If you learn the recipes to certain things, they're worth hundreds of rupees. So take take the best one of our tips and tricks, use them, and let us know in the comments if any of them were helpful to you. Now, what are some things you guys had to look up online that you are either not proud of, or that you just were like, dude, you have to do this because you can't figure this out on your own? What were some of the things, Louis, you had to look up online?
Yes, there was these two shrines. They were both located, I believe, in the Twin Peaks. It was the area because they were quite across from each other. And so there was a puzzle in there where you had to put the balls in the right spot in this puzzle. And I remember I did look this up, and I'm glad I did. I don't think I would have ever figured it out because at the time I didn't know there was a shrine across from the other peak at the other peak. But yes, it made sense. Like, oh, okay, so one shrine already has a puzzle built for the other shrine, and there was a riddle too. And yeah, if I had the time, I think I would have figured it out. But I felt a little guilty looking it up. And then I was like, you know what? Do I want to get back to the button mashing? I don't want to do a puzzle right now. So I would say that was one. I'm trying to think if I had others that I looked up. I it was quite interesting. The island where you lose all your stuff. I didn't look it up. I figured it out, and the way I did it was even better than some of the videos that I saw. There was a lot of videos
Really?
that avoided the boss. I fought the boss, and I realized that if I was really close to him, it was easier to dodge him. And so I actually fought him and defeated him. And there's one thing I realized from the game, like the game has very menacing looking bosses, but if you're close to them, some of them, not all, get a little bit easier. You can dodge around and
Yeah.
fight them.
It gives you the upper hand by being closer. I learned that with one of the guardians in the shrines, the trial of major combat, I think it is. I forget what it's called, or the major trial of combat with the guardian with like the three blades. I found that
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's shooting you with those lasers and it's just like pew pew pew, like right when you're about to defeat it, that if you run actually closer to it, it has like a recharge time where you can dodge it easier than when you're at long distances away from it because it covers a wider radius. And that's proven to be true. The closer you are to your enemy, the better your chances are of dodging and parrying, and just it becomes harder for that enemy to reach you. So that's a really good tip. And I feel like shrines are a better way of measuring somebody's IQ than IQ tests. Like, dude, if you can figure out certain shrines without help from the internet, you are a legal genius, I think, because some of them are like, there's just no way. Like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. Somebody needs to help me. What about you, Gabe?
You did you? I would have more of a question. Did you know that you could interrupt the charging phase
Oh,
when
yeah.
you were playing, or
How?
so when he's charging, if you shoot him in the eye with the arrow, he'll stop. It will like kind of stun him.
Oh, yeah, but I don't have that kind of reaction time, Gabe. This is why I had to invite you over to my house to help me beat Arkham Knights. I was fighting Deathstroke for like 2 months. The same, and I'm like,
Yeah,
there has to be a way to defeat this guy, and I just don't know it. And then you came over and you beat, oh yeah, it took you like 2 seconds. And I'm like, great, now I can
yeah. It
continue
was
playing this game, or I can just give up because I will never be able to finish. This is like the first boss that you fight, and I can't defeat him.
Yeah, it was something I was gonna bring up. One of the things that I think that pretty bugged me, um, was I feel like they switched out that fairy. I forget her name right now. What was the fairy that always traveled with Link?
Oh, Navi.
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 Yeah.
They replaced
Listen,
Navi for a little like a tablet, essentially. Because
the Sheikah
Navi's the one
Slate.
that used to have. You're right. Yeah, the Sheikah Slate. because Navi was the one that used to like help you out and stuff, but now you got to rely on the slate.
The iPhone.
But yeah, so I remember that's something that kind of like, oh, Navi's not here anymore, you know. But yeah,
No
the
pun
for the
intended, by the way. Did you get it? How I said iPhone because it looks like the Sheikah slate has an I on it.
Oh
yeah.
no! Oh no!
Wow.
Wow!
I had to go there. English guy. I play on words.
You
Sorry.
went with a dad pun. That was definitely a dad pun.
Yeah, dude. Once you have 4 kids, it's like automatic, dude. It's like gas. It just comes out
Yeah,
of you. You don't even know. Just surprises you sometimes.
yeah. I used to use the Sheikah slate to slow down the time, and then that's how I would shoot them in the eye.
Yeah,
Oh, didn't
that's a
think about
big
that.
thing. You got to use those things, dude. Like when you're in
Yeah, you
water
just slow
and
them down,
the
and then you got more time to aim and shoot them in the eye, so it's a lot easier.
yeah, and you just drop bombs, dude. I'm dropping bombs left and right. I'll use the box bomb and then the round bomb. Like while guys are chasing me, I'll drop one, and as it's chasing me, I'll drop the other, and then we'll both blow up. But typically, they'll take the most of the damage than I will.
Just a minute.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, those are some
I
good
kind of
things.
went off the subject. Sorry, what was the question again?
What are some things you had to look up online? Like you're not even ashamed that you had to look it up. You couldn't
Oh,
have figured it
definitely.
out on your own.
I when you had to craft stuff,
Oh,
I
Yeah.
got so annoyed to where stuff was located. I'm like, okay, who do I have to kill to build this thing, man? Like, I'm tired of like looking around. I'm like, screw it. Who do I have to kill? How many do I have to kill? And let's get this done. Like, I want this armor. Give it to me. I'm done.
I'm done trying to figure this out. I just need it. I need it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Who do I
So I
have
mean,
to
the
pay?
internet came on really good with that, and so did this.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
strategy guide. I got the
Hard
yeah, and it came with some awesome stuff.
hardcover, right on.
Yeah, it came. Yeah, it's a hardcover. It
I
came with
wasn't envious until
the
this moment.
map.
Why don't I have one of those?
I can let you borrow it if you want, Fonz.
Yeah, I will borrow it and you will never see it again. It'll live
Right?
And open
it'll
his
live up
collection. Yeah, his
on this
collection.
wall.
It's like, oh look, that's Gabe's book.
And
I'm gonna come over.
I'll
Oh, hey, are you done with the game? No, I'm not.
nope. No, I actually have it
I still
displayed
need
and I let
it.
people see it. But just so you know, like a museum, I let people know that it's yours.
It belongs in a museum.
Yes, it belongs in my house, the museum of cool things, especially books. So, I know viewers can't see my library, but it's extensive. It goes this wall and that wall. Children's books and grown-up books alike, mainly comic books, but y'all don't need to know that. Anyway, for me, I'm sad to say that I had to figure out how to cook by looking online. I'm just not one of those genius types that thought to even look at my inventory to do something. I figured I'll have to just press a button near a fire. But no, I had to look it up. And there were 2 shrines that I had to look up. There was one where I was completely lost. There's the one where like the ball was falling and it was like rolling down this one ramp and then it would just fly off the ramp. But there was like another ramp that was like a seesaw kind of deal. And somehow I had to go down that, fall down, come down this way, and end up where this platform was. And I was just looking at it like, what am I supposed to do? I caught it with like stasis, and then I was like shooting it with arrows, thinking like, okay, I just need to stop it and then make it fall down. But when it would break, it would just go down harder. And then I finally got it to like stop at the right moment. But then when it fell down, it caused the seesaw to fall this way. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So after getting frustrated with it and my kids watching me and my pride falling to a level that has never fallen before, there's nothing worse than sucking at a game in front of your kids, right? And they're all trying to tell me what to do. Like, Dad, try this. I'm like, you're 6. You don't know what to do. If I can't figure this out, there's no way you can figure this out. And then come to find out, there's like a waterfall in the background, and you have to use the ice to come out and like stop it, and it like you basically had to create a path with ice and also create stabilizers so that when the thing falls on the ramp, it doesn't go backwards. So I'm like, I would have never thought about that. I didn't even consider the water falling in the background. So again, if you're listening, educators, if you want to know how smart your kids are, ask them how many shrines they completed without looking at a walkthrough online, because those things, they were created by geniuses in Japan. All right. What would you change about the game? And I'm pretty sure I know what you guys are going to say, but if there's anything you could change, what would you change? Starting with you, Louis.
I mean, at first I believed it was going to be the weapon breaking system, but now I'm not too sure after just discussing and giving it time. What would I change? Well, okay, there is something. I playing the game had a level of stress because the game, although I do love open exploration, there was a level of stress that it was not linear at all. And there's some linear is good, like some type of like the game kind of giving you clues. Go this way in the map. Here's the leveling progress. Here's the growth of the character. This is ideal. Now, some can argue and say, no, 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 I don't want that. I want open exploration. Yes, so do I. But there is, like I said, there was a level of stress thinking like, man, did I just miss something really cool by taking this path? Did I miss out like on this really good opportunity where like some of the shrines do give you some type of tutorials? And I would say I would change just a little bit of some type of clue of which way you're supposed to be going. Just for the sake of knowing that I am progressing, and I'm also not missing out on the game, any part of the game.
That's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, because it seems like, well, yes and no, because I think that when you think of like those BioWare games, like say Mass Effect or Knights of the Old Republic or certain games where your decisions will change the path that your story goes. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case with Breath of the Wild, because although you can, start, you can kind of choose where your path goes. I don't think it changes the outcome of how other parts of the world progress. Like on other stories, like if you make a decision on this map, how your characters in your party are going to react to you and the decisions you made on that is going to be impacted when you go to the next map. Whereas in this game, it doesn't really matter what you did in one part of the world. I mean, except for how you develop yourself, the story is not going to change anywhere else. So in a way, it's very non-linear in that sense, because you get to choose where, yeah, like where you decide to start and where you want to go and how you want your story to progress. But
I guess I would make
yeah,
a change.
I feel like that's
I would make a change, like if I were to localize where the biggest problem area for me personally was, where I would change the game, is to change the tutorial. I think the tutorial was
yeah.
too open. I think that area needed to have a little bit more of holding your hand, and then then after that, letting the open world be the open world. I would say the tutorial was adequate in teaching you how to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because actually, I just watched a video to find out that you can actually find that old man in certain other places. King Rome, but while he's in disguise. There's other places that you can find him where he would have given you free stuff, like that weathered coat, that coat that helps you in the cold weather. Apparently, he would have given it to you for free if you would have found him on the top of some mountain, and other gadgets like that. But I mean, there was, yeah, like you said, there was really no direction, like no arrow above your head, like in Super Mario Odyssey, or your map just automatically puts it on there. Yeah, the tutorial could have been a little bit longer and taught you some more things, so you don't feel as lost. Kind of some essentials, but yeah, I think for the most part, the rest of the story, if you were more prepared for it, I think that's a good point. Yeah. What about you, Gabe? What are some things you would have changed if you could go back and change it?
Um, I don't.
You
Yeah,
could
I'm
say
not a game
nothing if you
developer,
think it's
man.
perfect.
I honestly, I wouldn't change anything. I have no idea how to like it would affect stuff. I'm not into like that
You don't
kind
want to
of
change the
game.
past.
No.
Gabe is one of those guys where it's
Yeah,
like, I don't want to break the time space continuum. I don't want to fracture reality and have the whole Flashpoint thing change on me because I don't want to change the future.
no.
You never know. We've all seen the butterfly effect. He ends up killing himself. Spoiler alert. Sorry, it's too late. It happened.
It's like I would
Yeah,
just
I honestly wouldn't. I wouldn't change anything because I mean, I really enjoyed that game. That game was great. It made me think on just so many different things. Just yeah, man,
Just
it was
yeah.
stuff that you would, yeah, you would stuff you wouldn't think you would have to worry about. You, like an iron suit in the desert. It's probably not the best idea.
No. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you would I mean, if you were going in the desert, you would think about that, right? I'm not gonna wear
Yeah,
my suit of armor in the desert. First of
but
all, it's
yeah, come
hot.
on, it's a game though. Like you wouldn't think about that in the game, and then all of a sudden you see Link just like sweating and his health is going down. You're like, wait, what's going on?
And see, that's something the tutorial would could have told you. By the way, you
Oh
need to be
yeah, to
aware of
watch the
this.
environment. Yep.
Yeah, that was something that actually I put down that I didn't realize I wrote. But yes, I do think that there could have been a little more direction on critical things, critical to your survival, that would have been helpful to just you enjoying the game a little bit more. And I still think the ability to repair weapons, I think in some cases, like I don't know how you could fix an elemental weapon. I feel like you would have to have some kind of magic ability in that regard, which maybe that would be impossible. But I feel like for a select few, like fixing rusty weapons, not in kind of a way where you throw it into an enemy's mouth and it spits it out fixed, but like, if you could develop that skill to repair your own weapons, at least some type of weapons, I think it would have been helpful, even if they're not as strong when you repair them, or maybe that you can buff them up. That was something I enjoyed about games, how you can really um, make a weapon better than when you got it. But other than that, yes, not a lot I would change because I don't know how less enjoyable or more enjoyable it would have been if those things were any different. Maybe we love it so much because of those challenges, because the more challenging something is, the more determined you are to solve it,
mm,
or overcome it. So maybe it's a good thing. But on to the next thing. Gabe, your daughter might be too young to answer this question, but Louis, what did your son think about Breath of the Wild? Has he played it? What do you think?
yeah, he hasn't really gotten his hands on it, and so far there hasn't been much of an interest. But that's also how he is by nature. I noticed that with him, it's a little. I have to do a little push with him, and he gets really into it. I mean, he just discovered the games of Pokemon. He was a Pokemon fan without playing the games. He would watch the TV episodes. He would look at the books. He did play Pokemon Go on his cell phone, but he dove into the Pokemon game this week, and in a couple days now he's already fighting the Elite Four, and he's telling me about
Dang.
it. He's telling me about how like he has a army of EVs, all level 50, right? He got all the EVs and all the evolutions. But with Breath of the Wild, I think that he is, in my opinion, from what I observed, he's afraid of the learning curve. And I thought about
Mm.
him a lot with the tutorial. I think if the tutorial like that was a little more laid out on what to expect, he would have been a little more interested.
You're just gonna have to be his King Rome and help him figure stuff out.
Yeah, well, once he
What
gets
about?
that little push, once I give him that little push, he gets going. I mean, it was the same thing with Pokemon. He saw me playing Pokemon, then he started playing Pokemon.
There you go. You're just gonna have to show him how cool it is. You have to battle that that one guardian in the major test of combat and show him how awesome it is, and maybe he'll want to jump on because that is intense. And watching someone do that, it makes it like I want to fight that thing and lose 100 times. It was like, what's that movie? Doctor Strange. Remember when he's fighting that one dude at the very end, Dormammu? and he gets like
Oh
impaled,
yeah.
and then he gets crushed, and then he gets, and it's like the same over and over again. That's how many times I saw Game Over. Dude, I think I had nightmares about Game Over, like that screen and that little song that comes on, and then going back down and being like, how am I gonna change my strategy this time? What can I do differently? Going back, getting killed, and then coming back again. Hmm, maybe not use the arrows. Maybe I should use this different. It's just crazy. But my kids love Breath of the Wild, like obsessed. Can they even navigate around it? Matthias kind of can. My 6-year-old, like, he can get around and he enjoys combat and he's not as um, deflated by dying. He always has a lot of questions and always wants to figure stuff out. So he's very determined when he plays it. But my son Hector, like he loves the idea of playing the same game that I'm playing, but he gets so mad. You know how emotional he gets? He's the kid who like yells at the TV and gets frustrated. Why are you killing me, Dad? I'm like, dude, you wanna? I warned you. This game is hard for me, like, which is not saying a lot, but it's hard for me. I can imagine you being my son. You're going to be a little bit handicapped while playing this game, but he still loves
That
it.
reminds
And
me of a story of Noah. So Noah's 13, for those that don't know. But I remember when he was much younger and he started to get into online gaming. It may have been Fortnite. Actually, no, now I remember it was Fortnite. He was playing Xbox and he was playing Fortnite on the Xbox. And I remember one day coming home from work, he was already home playing his game in the living room. And I was setting my things down, walking to my room, and all of a sudden in the distance I hear, "Shut up! Don't tell me to shut up! You shut up!" And I come out there, and this kid is straight up arguing with the screen, pointing his fingers at the screen. And I was like, "Oh, buddy, welcome to the online world."
pretty good.
And it's funny because he was still being polite. He had that child innocence. No, don't tell me to shut up. You shut up.
Yeah, the online world can be a cruel world to grow up in. It definitely makes you tough.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Gabe? Has Jade been introduced to Breath of the Wild or the Switch?
No, we are very much still in the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse phase
Yeah,
since she's only turning 3 tomorrow.
there you go. Well, happy birthday to
But
Jade.
hey, on the other hand, her mom, my wife, she loves the game. She doesn't love me. She doesn't love watching me, and I don't love watching her because we play just completely different.
Mm.
But she very much loves the game. She really enjoyed it. She played it. We would literally like take turns when it came out. I would play a night. She would play a night. I would play a night. But like if I'm not playing, I'm watching her play, and I'm getting frustrated because I'm over here like, there's a guy over there. Why aren't you killing him? She's like, I don't need to. I know you don't need to, but why are you gonna let him live and just like be there?
Why do you
And
let
that's
him
what it was.
exist?
Yeah, that was our whole thing. I would go in, gun blazing, killing everyone and everything, because that was just my goal. Like, I am killing all you monsters. You're infecting my land. You're not going to be here.
You were a more deranged
And
Link, like that Link in the
yeah,
memes where you just see his face and his eyes are bulging out of his head and he goes crazy.
It must be a South Pole Link.
yeah. And my wife was like, "Oh, you're cool over there. I'm gonna go this way because this is where I need to go, and you're not in my way. You're not bothering me. Cool." I'm like, "No, he doesn't deserve to breathe. You should kill him."
Yeah, so she plays like I play. I'm like sneaking around, avoiding enemies at all costs. I'll literally sit for like 2 minutes waiting for it to turn around and walk the other way just so I can sneak past. I'm like, if I don't have to fight this dude and ruin one of my precious weapons, like, I'm not gonna. Unless he catches me, I'm running and I'm dropping bombs behind me just to create some distance so that my bar doesn't go so low and I can run and whistle at the same time. But that's the thing about running and whistling. You just attract all the enemies, so sometimes it's not a very helpful strategy. Everyone's like, "Who's whistling?" Anyway,
Uh,
that's cool, man. I didn't realize that she played the game too. I tried to introduce my wife to Hyrule Warriors, and well, maybe I'll save that for our review of Hyrule Warriors, but she fell asleep while playing it with me and kind of left me high and dry. But that's a story for another time. I'm like, this game is literally mountains of enemies coming at you. You're gonna fall asleep. Well, we have a horde of bokoblins coming straight at us. Anyway, well, I'll save that for another
you
time.
done messed up, Aaron.
Yeah. Oh man, this is terrible. Anyway, what was the most challenging enemy or mission you have faced so far? Louis, what was the most challenging boss that you faced?
Well, so far the centaur has been. I've been trying to
Ooh.
just memorize his mechanics. Like I said, you do have the ability of sneaking up and jumping on his back, and you take like a good deal of damage. And I can see having high stamina will help that fight out immensely, because as soon as you jump on the centaur's back, your stamina meter is running out, and as soon as like it runs out completely, you fall off. And then what's interesting about this, I don't know if they're all the same, but this one also shoots ice arrows at you. So if you're trying
Oh
to fight
wow.
him at range, he will shoot these ice arrows at you. You'll get put in ice blocks, and you have to press buttons to like fight your way out. Once you get out, he's coming at you with a cleave, like a side cleave, and for me right now, it one shots me. So he's been
Dang.
quite a challenge. I think I'm not ready for him, but
Yeah.
he's been fun to learn the mechanics at least.
Yeah. Well, those are I just looked it up. They're called Lionels.
Lionel,
Kind of like the
yep.
guy from
I just
Thundercats.
popped in my head.
Yep,
Didn't want to interrupt them
Lionels.
though.
Yeah. So they're lion-faced centaurs. Look awesome.
Mhm.
I wish like that was a character you can choose to be. Why are the bad guys like they always look so cool?
In this world, they do. Yeah.
I want to be a lion-faced centaur. Anyway, what about you, Gabe? I mean, you defeated the game, so I'm assuming was Calamity Ganon the hardest enemy in the game, or were there harder
Uh,
enemies?
you know what? I don't think he was that much of a hard enemy, to be honest. I think I maybe died like once or twice, but I was able to like find out his patterns pretty quickly, and I think I ended him. But yeah, definitely the Lionels, especially the silver-haired ones, because like I said, the enemies level up as you beat them. So maybe Luis, you're at the. I know you're exactly the Lionel you're talking about. You're on the ice mountain. You're in the snow.
Yeah.
I think up in, yeah, and yeah. So that one there is different ones, and they're different strengths. A good thing for the Lionels is stamina for sure, but it's also the ability to dodge. When you do a perfect dodge, you do like a slow motion effect, and that actually allows you to jump back onto the Lionel's back, and or you could just do like, you could parry them,
Oh.
and that helps tremendously.
Hmm. Yeah, they're
But
not.
yeah, the silver-haired Lionels, that was the one. That was the higher tier one, and man, those things they're tough. They're definitely tough.
That's good to know, because I think that they build it up for Calamity Ganon to be the ultimate enemy, but there are so many challenging enemies, and especially depending on where you are on your journey to Calamity Ganon, it could be that some of the enemies that you face just because of your experience
Hmm.
at the time can just be that much harder. And by the time you get to Calamity Ganon, you're an experienced um, fighter with the gaming mechanics and with all the different types of enemies that they are, and understanding what kind of cues they give before they do certain moves and whatnot. You maybe because you were just more used to the way enemies fight and all the enemies that you fought to get to that point prepared you for Calamity Ganon. That might make some of the other ones along the way that much more challenging and at least more memorable. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
that was just for me though. I don't remember myself getting to the point to like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna beat this guy, you know, which I have totally gotten on some games,
Yeah.
and a lot of times it's a Final Fantasy boss that I'm just struggling with when I get to that point. But but yeah,
Luis is
I
like,
don't
I can
remember
relate.
myself. Yeah, I don't remember getting too frustrated with that boss. I remember getting frustrated like that with the Lionels.
Mm.
Like
Dang.
I I would, yeah, but at the same time, I always came back because I'm like, I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. And then I'll be like, now we gotta restock because I just used all my swords, all my shields, and now we gotta run away. I'm like, dang
Yeah.
it. But
And then
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what it takes now.
yeah. A good tip for him though, whenever you defeat a Lionel, usually they'll drop their axe, and their axes do very good damage against other Lionels.
Mm.
So
Oh,
so it's a good thing to just keep that in your inventory in case you find another Lionel because they'll actually help you do more damage.
see, this is what I'm talking about. Knowing the functionality of your tools,
Mm-hmm.
which enemy to use certain tools with. Because, I mean, for some, it's the distance of using a spear. For some, it's a certain weakness to a certain type of either element. Because there's elemental, like that ice Lionel. There's elemental creatures that have a weakness, to like those ice wizards. I don't know if you faced them yet, Luis, but if you hit him with a flaming arrow, you can basically one
Mm-hmm.
shot him. And the same with the fire wizard. If you hit him with an ice arrow, you finish him. Water creatures that are in the water, shoot them with a lightning arrow, and you electrocute them. But goblins can't swim. Knock them into water, they drown. A lot of easy ways to avoid combat with a much stronger enemy if you know their elemental disadvantage. As long as you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, you should know. You
You're
should know.
solid after that.
It is.
Yes,
Or if you've just been playing Pokemon from the beginning, then you should
Right.
know as
very
well.
true.
I
But
Although
yeah,
I was thinking
there are no
Pokemon.
grass types.
yeah. Although there are no grass types, but hey, but yeah, like you said, shooting those wizards, man, it is a lot harder than what you think. Those guys
Yeah,
are quick, and yeah, you're like, yeah, I got a fire arrow. Okay, good luck hitting them.
It's like,
that's
whoa.
what stasis is for. You use stasis.
That is true. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. See,
Reminds me of
we all learn.
Bush with the shoe. Oh, oh.
Yeah, right. And he sticks up his hand. Whoop, you almost got me there. He was very proud of himself in those moments
A smirk on
because
his face.
he had those moments where he tried to open prop doors too, and he just stood there.
I haven't encountered the wizards yet. They sound fun.
Oh, they will be.
They
They
will
will
be.
be.
You say that
All
now.
right. I know, right? They will be frustrating, but
You're a wizard,
those
Harry.
are now. Here's a last question on the Breath of the Wild. What would you recommend to players who find the game too difficult and are thinking about giving up? We've all been there. Louis, what do you say?
So this goes back to that balance, right? I would say that at this point is where you're hitting that balance. That maybe you need a little bit of assistance because the byproduct of getting frustrated, you put the game down, you don't want to play anymore, and then especially nowadays we have so many choices out there. I mean, we have a huge wealth of choices, and so I would say at this point, look it up. I'm surprised that in many games, people will have that spot that you're struggling with in a YouTube video, and so if you need it, search it because it could have been just only that really frustrated you, and the rest of the game can be a complete enjoyment.
Yeah, absolutely. Great tips. Gabe, what would you say? Somebody's about to quit. What should they
Yeah,
do?
definitely look up the video because there is definitely a possibility that you've wandered into an area that you're totally not prepared for because of either elemental or enemies or what you can get to that point to where it's too much. And if you're trying to push that and you don't even have like a decent weapon to get you past it, then yeah, you're gonna have to like go back and not like come back to that area at a different time. So definitely just look up a little video to see what's going on, or you could do what you did and call somebody to help you out.
Just call
There
Gabe.
is always, yeah, just call Gabe. We'll give you his number at the end of the show.
That's right. Like, scroll down in the description. Show MOrtal's number will be right there.
Yes, we'll have all of his contact info and address. His number is 867-5309, just in case anybody is going to be giving him a call.
Gabe, I need help.
Yeah, so I agree. Ditto to you guys. Definitely utilize. I think there is a video series by a YouTuber named Copycat. GameStop. I mean, we've been using GameStop since. I mean, I'm sorry, not GameStop. GameSpot with P before the T. They've always had walkthrough and cheat codes. I remember when Grand Theft Auto came out and you wanted a tank just because you wanted a tank. You just had to look it up on GameSpot, and there you go. You could have a tank and drive it from one place to the next and just destroy cars as you drove past them. You can always find things on GameSpot, anywhere on the internet, walkthroughs of any kind. But if you are a person who wants to get to the story and not die, avoid travel at night is a big one. Always have the tools necessary to start a fire, which is a flintstone, or a flint rock. I'm not sure what it's called, but you want a flint, you want wood, and you want a metal object to start your fire. And you just start that fire and you go to sleep until the morning, and
Voila.
then you travel. Voila. It's that easy. Why you don't get mugged at night when there's a bunch of zombies out there while you're sleeping, I don't know. But it works to your advantage, so utilize it. And that way, you don't have to worry about dying as often as you could die by traveling at night. That's a helpful tip. And also, don't be ashamed to just ask for help. Call Gabe. It'll help. Oh, you do all the side missions. As many side missions as possible. They're typically very easy, and they're just things that help you get items that are very helpful to the game. They help you explore, progress, and just build up your experience and your confidence moving forward. The further you get, the harder it gets. So the more help you have on your side, and the more things you do that are just fun and rewarding and help you feel like you're accomplishing something, will give you more motivation to continue and persevere through the game. Well, we got through.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Gabe. We almost
I
got
was
through.
just gonna throw in there. Sorry, I was also gonna say. I mean, if you have those little the little Nintendo amiibos, the amiibo figurines, Breath
If
of
you
the
were lucky
Wild
enough
did
to
a,
buy them while Nintendo was still
yeah,
selling them.
yeah,
Oh, they're
Nintendo
out
actually
there.
did an awesome thing. Oh yeah, they're still out there. What's
On
it called?
eBay.
But
Oh, price though.
I know. It's like, but yeah, if you're lucky enough to get one, they actually help you out a lot. I remember I got the one that gave me Link's horse Epona. That's her name, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I got and her stats were completely maxed from the get go,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something else that just helps you. Like if you know, I mean, it is a big space to explore. Having a horse with you helps you go places faster. It's just common sense.
Yes. And if you were smart enough to figure out how to make a car like IGN did, where they put that little treasure chest in the front of that like metal object, and they just use that to make a car that takes you wherever you go when you use the magnet to drive it. That was pretty
Not see that.
and
I
I was
didn't
like,
see that.
what? I will put the video on our Discord so that you guys can see it. It is hilarious. I'm like, how do you even figure this out. Like who thought of this? But anyway, again, Gabe just went to show us that call him. He has the amiibos. Again, we put the number, if you just scroll back a little bit, 867-5309. Give him a call.
Not his number.
Anyway, now
Disclaimer,
it is
not his
time.
number.
I am very
Disclaimer,
excited.
not his number.
You're not supposed to tell him that, Luis. I want people to dial the number and see what happens.
Some poor person is going to get all these phone calls, right?
It is time to move on. It is time to switch focus. Let's talk Nintendo Direct. You guys watched it, right? 50 minutes of goody deliciousness from Nintendo announcing the biggest games of the year, or you at least watched the 6-minute rundown from IGN, which was fantastic. Gabe, what'd you think?
Well, I saw the 6 minute from IGN.
By the way, I'm disappointed.
So, I'm sorry. I think I was working at that time. I have no idea. My work schedule's been crazy, but I'm definitely looking forward to some of the releases, like the Star Wars Hunter, the re-release of Skyward Sword. Not sure how I feel about that yet, to be honest. I started playing it on the Wii U, I believe, but I didn't finish it because I think the Switch came out and I just sold everything about the Wii U, all my games, just to buy the Switch. But no, there were some games looking very promising in there, and like I said, I think the one that stood out the most for me was the Star Wars Hunter, and of course the lack of information for Breath of the Wild 2 was very upsetting. But
Yes.
yeah.
That's a perfect segue. Let's talk about the biggest disappointment and upset. If you were watching it live on YouTube, you would have seen the fan uproar when we saw the director. I was gonna try to pronounce his name, but I don't think I'm going to because you know how I'm talking about. let's just do it. Eija Aonuma came out wearing his traditional Legend of Zelda shirt and jacket combo, looking spiffy. I'm not gonna lie, I got really excited. I was waiting the whole time just for this moment, and I see him come out, and I'm like, ooh!
Oh, you're
My
close.
wife even stopped. Yes, yeah. My wife even stopped what she was doing. She was about to go for a walk, and she was like, I'm just gonna sit down and watch this with you. And I was like, oh yeah, this is the time. Sweet Christmas. We're gonna find out something about Breath of the Wild 2. And what does he say? I'm actually gonna show you guys the clip. We'll watch the clip. He says, we have nothing to report at the time, but we will later on.
Nani?
It's like the fact that you say that we will have something to announce shows that you have something to announce, but you're just holding out on us. Everyone was upset. But what was more upsetting was that we were all excited for what was going to come out. I mean, Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary is just around the corner, February 21st. And then there have been rumors that there's going to be a re-release of a classic Zelda game. And what does he announce? We're going to get to that. But first, let's talk about Breath of the Wild 2. What do we know about Breath of the Wild 2 for now? We saw the trailer. It is on our Discord page if you guys are following us on Discord. What do you guys think? Based on what you've seen so far from the trailer, are you excited for Breath of the Wild 2? Do you have any more information? What are your guys' thoughts so far on Breath of the Wild 2 just by watching the trailer?
You know, looking back at when we were speaking about the same story, Link saves a princess, we could have another similar encounter. But one of the things that I noticed is there was a huge focus on this overclouding shadow or cloud coming in and grabbing things. I definitely got the idea of the same world now becoming distorted, or I don't want to say calamity, but now it's distorted. The same way I remember in Red Dead Redemption, when you would play in zombie mode. It was the same world, but now you're dealing with zombies. And so I started imagining, is it a possibility that these monsters get super buffed? They're demonic? Who knows, right? And so that sounded really interesting. Or even a whole underground scene. I would say that the trailer definitely left me wanting for more.
Absolutely. Gabe, what are your thoughts on Breath of the Wild 2?
It's probably like a little dumb. I'm not gonna lie, but when I first saw it, when they first show Zelda, I'm like, why did they cut her hair? So because I saw it was like short, I was like, what are they trying to make her like a new more today style with the short hair? Like why? No, why just leave her with her long hair? But then when they did the close up and you just see it's like in braids, I'm like, okay, she just did her hair. Never mind, I take that back. That was my first thought process. I'm like, why are they changing Zelda? Leave her alone.
You don't cut Zelda's hair.
You don't cut a princess hair, okay? It's supposed to be long. Anyway,
Dude.
But no, watching the video, the trailer, I don't know. I felt like she was more of a companion in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I got that feeling, but just the fact that I felt like it was. So I'm kind of hoping that it's gonna be like a mission to where you're switching between two characters.
Mm-hmm.
She might have her own mission, and he might have his own trying to find her. She's trying to survive or whatever. Or if they're going at it together and they're just some parts where you got to be Link, some parts you got to be Zelda. So that's what it's kind of a far stretch just for 22 seconds of a video, but this is everything that came to me. So I'm just really kind of that'd be really cool because usually you don't play as Zelda unless you're playing like Hyrule Warriors or something like that.
Yeah.
So it would be a really cool to just have her and see what they do with her.
Yeah, I have her as more of a playable character rather than just a companion. Kind of like Genshin Impact.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have heard anything or played Genshin Impact, but
Mm-hmm.
it's basically Breath of the Wild, but with a little more anime characters, a lot of the same mechanics. But one of the coolest features about that game is that using the directional pad, you can change between characters who have different weapons and different abilities. And while you're in combat, you can switch characters and use their abilities to help you get the advantage when you're fighting an enemy. That would be something really cool because the mechanics of Hyrule Warriors is kind of similar, Age of Calamity. You can just by pressing up and down switch to different characters on the map, which wouldn't be beneficial in this sense, in the Breath of the Wild context, but it would be interesting to have kind of different functionalities between characters where certain times it'd be advantageous to be Zelda, and at other times it'd be advantageous to be Link. It's interesting because now learning what we learned from Age of Calamity, Zelda was just barely beginning to come into her powers and just explore them. And now after 100 years of withstanding Calamity Ganon and holding him off until Link comes in, I mean, she must have grown more powerful. Or it probably diminished her power and she needs to rediscover it. There's so much possibility. And I'm excited to discover what it's going to be. From the scenery, we're looking like we're going to be exploring the underground of Hyrule. Most of what we saw in Breath of the Wild was the landscape of the land of Hyrule and all of the different areas. But it looks like from the trailer that we're going to be going underground, kind of delving more into the dungeons like in Minecraft. I mean, when you're on the surface, that's just one tier. You can go deeper and deeper underground. Further you go underground, the more world you discover. Possibilities are endless. Even just the quick 40 seconds of video shows that the story is going to be intense. complex. And like you mentioned, Gabe, earlier, it seems like it's going to have more of a darker tone to it, which I don't know if I'm privy to that, but it's fitting like Breath of the Wild. It's going to be a good game no matter what. Luis, you look like you are intent to say something.
I was just thinking. You brought an interesting idea. What we know so far of Hyrule, the opening plane of the world map. I don't have much experience, or I have not read the books. If there was another dimension or like a hell-like atmosphere, I thought about Oblivion. You know, you're in the world of
Hmm.
Tamriel, and you are now the portals are opening up. You're going into each of these portals, and you're having to close them. But you're getting to see a different world. Also, in the Elder Scrolls Online, you get to see that even more so. There's actually a whole region where you have to go into the underworld, the Shadowlands. So have you be and then you go in there, and there's this whole storyline. There's this whole development of that world. And I thought that when you talking about Hyrule Underground, there definitely is those possibilities or capabilities. Like, what is like I said, the afterlife world look like in that game, or and so forth.
You heard it here first, folks. Working title: Breath of the Wild 2, Hyrule Underground. I like it, Luis. I like it. It sounds really cool.
I like how
But
you had like such an elaborate like explanation for that. I'm over here thinking something simple, like it kind of reminded me of the Lion King, where he's like, the sun is all what yours touches, but you see that dark spot? Don't go there. That's part two of Breath of the Wild. We're going to that dark spot.
But the elephant graveyard, right? That was the elephant graveyard. Hey, what's all that shadowy stuff?
that's where we want to go. Yeah, and all that to say, it looks like Princess Zelda has a haircut. Anyway, Breath of the Wild 2 is
No.
rumored to be released at the end of 2021, but many speculate its release to be synonymous with the release of the Nintendo Switch Pro. Again, these are all rumors and speculation. I don't know if there is going to be a Nintendo Switch Pro released this year. Um, a lot of people seem to believe that there will be a Nintendo Switch Pro because a lot of the games that are being designed and put out there have frame rate issues. And we think that it's because the Nintendo Switch is not quite built to handle some of these more detailed games like Breath of the Wild. So thinking that Breath of the Wild is going to come out with a sequel that's going to improve upon Breath of the Wild and how complex it was, it's hard to believe that the Nintendo Switch is going to be capable of, playing a game with which is going to be more complex, more advanced. The mechanics are going to improve. The video quality is going to improve. Do you think that we'll be able to run this game well with the frame rate issues it's having with games like Age of Calamity and some of the other games that are coming out? Will the Nintendo Switch be able to handle Breath of the Wild 2, or are they waiting until the holiday season to announce the release of the Nintendo Switch Pro and have the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 be kind of the like what draws you to buy the Nintendo Switch Pro? That's what a lot of people think. That's what a lot of analysts think. But again, it is all speculation at this time. What do you guys think of a Nintendo Switch Pro?
I definitely, it's definitely possible. I mean, we're seeing how Xbox and PlayStation have gone leaps with their new consoles, and even before the new consoles, I would say that they released like a halfway point with the Xbox Enhance, I believe, and then was it the PS4 Pro? They leave like they were already moving up, so it's definitely possible that the Nintendo may pursue that. But I also think that even then, Nintendo has had that unique system. I think even back in the Super Nintendo days, how like the Mario games were improving so much, even within Super Nintendo. We saw it also with the Wii. So at the same time, maybe they can create a system where they're keeping the same level of detail that we saw with Breath of the Wild, but in Breath of the Wild 2, maybe fix some of those issues, some maybe coding improvements. I'm not sure. I could see it as a possibility to have a Switch Pro. although it's not as common as you see in PS4 and Xbox. I mean, PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, there has been a lot of pressure for them to put out a next gen model, but then again, Nintendo hasn't been known to give in to the pressures of the consumers. They kind of are their own beast who do what they do, and they have a specific market they're going after, and it may not be in their best interest to release a next gen model or game console while consumers are still buying Switch products and Switch hardware. I mean, they are right now the best selling uh, gaming console, and all of their games are outselling just about everything out there. So I don't know if it's even a smart business move for them to release Breath of the Wild this year. They can wait and hold out until next year. But after watching Nintendo Direct, I'm starting to think that they might be banking on this being the big seller for the holiday season, because other than Breath of the Wild 2, I mean, there's not really other games that I'm, really looking forward to where I'm like, I can't wait for this game to come out and so I can buy it, other than Breath of the Wild 2. What are your thoughts, Gabe? You've been awfully quiet.
No, yeah, I was just thinking. Yeah, I know they don't really like release stuff as often, but my thing is they just released the Switch Lite isn't all that old yet. I mean, I think it's not even how it's not that old, right? It's like I don't know if it's a year old yet. They just released
Yeah,
that not too long ago, right? So I don't see
right.
why there would be another rush to release another system when they just did that. Um, so I would, so to me, it just makes sense for them to hold on a little bit before they do the Pro. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
I could see what you're talking about them holding on until um maybe like Christmas, holiday Christmas to
yeah,
throw Breath of the Wild 2 down. But that's just my process right now. It's just I don't think that they're in a rush to release a system because they just did the light. But at the same time, I'm not too sure if the light was a huge hit or not. I know
yeah.
there was a
It
good
was.
amount of people. Was it?
Yeah, I believe the
Because
Nintendo Switch and the Switch Lite are both outselling the 3DS, and I mean they've outsold, of course, the Wii U, which didn't sell very well, and the Wii. I mean, they are killing it right now on the market, especially since no one can get their hands on a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. I mean, they are just killing it more and more. And people are, in general, are just moving more to handheld portable devices. They want to be able to take their game with them, and they have the advantage of making console games on a portable device. Like Breath of the Wild, you can take it to the bathroom and play it on the pooper. You know what I mean? You can't take Xbox games and do that. Like, this is not a possibility right now. They are moving more into that by being able to play Xbox games from your phone, um, but it's not quite at the same caliber as the Nintendo Switch at the moment.
And I'll add
But
something that's
yeah,
I'll add something that's very important to why the Switch. I think we still have quite the life with the Switch, where I don't think we'll have a Switch Pro just yet. For the fact that they play and capture video at 720p, that allows definitely to stay within a certain category that on Xbox and PS4 need the hardware for 1080 and now 4K. And so that definitely helps the Switch out a lot. And another thing I was thinking about too is that Pokemon still hasn't really blossomed or got to a point that where the Nintendo 3DS was at. I mean, what was it? Pokemon Sun and Moon were definitely really beloved games from the franchise, and there's a lot of people who are saying that the Sun and Moon are much better than Sword and Shield right now. I know a lot. I mean, for myself, it was quite fun because I'm going back to the Pokemon Yellow and Red, Blue, Red, and Yellow days, and that's what I'm basing it off. But a lot of the people that played Pokemon at 3DS have said that that the Switch still hasn't had a game that has made them satisfied as much as the 3DS games have. So with that said, the Pokemon still has a lot more they can do with the Switch. I mean, even if we talk about Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, a lot of people felt like those were placeholders. Even though they were very fun, they were placeholders.
Mhm.
They weren't a full release game, and so there was a lot of expectations with the Switch. Sorry, with Pokemon Sword and Shield, and there was a lot of disappointment. Although personally, I had a great time with it. I do see where the disappointment was coming from, but we'll take some more time to talk about that game a different day. But as
Yeah,
regard as the Switch,
absolutely.
as the regard of the Switch life, there still is games that I think can really blossom still.
Yeah, absolutely. I is 100%. Yeah, so we can expect to hear more, like the director said, Aonuma. We're going to be hearing more about the release and the progress of Breath of the Wild 2 later on this year. Let's move on to the next announcement from Nintendo Direct. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is going to get an expansion pack. Uh, it, it's been a very enjoyable game. I think my favorite part of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is the co-op aspect, but we'll go more in depth into that when we review the game. This purchase is going to include new costumes and weapons for Link. Wave 1 will be released in June 2021, and this will have an expanded rosters, new weapon types, new challenges, and new enemies. And we will have a Wave 2 released November 2021, and that's going to include new character vignettes, new added stages, further expanded roster, and new battle skills for existing characters. Now, we move on to our last big Zelda franchise announcement from Nintendo Direct, Skyward Sword HD. Guys, what was the last Zelda game you played before Breath of the Wild? Starting with you, Louie.
Well, very briefly, I played Twilight Princess. I didn't really get my hands on it because I didn't own that particular console you played it with. I mean, the last game where I played thoroughly was, believe it or not, the Zelda Link to the Past. That I go way back. The other games I definitely played a little bit here and there. I mean, during those times I was a huge Xbox fanboy, so that took a lot of my attention.
Yeah, I still remember when you brought home Crackdown. That was such a cool game. Not to go on a tangent, but
Throwback. Yeah.
way throwback. That was such a cool game. Anyway, Gabe, what was the last game you played in the Legend of Zelda franchise?
Other than that, thoroughly actually, I have Hyrule Warriors, but I actually haven't like sat down and like played it. Like the game, I think that I did that other than Into the Wild was A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. That really
Hmm.
captured me, and I really got really into that game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah. For me, it was Twilight Princess. I beat that game on the Wii. It was so much fun. I think that was the last one I purchased. I probably had the most fun playing Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but I enjoyed Twilight Princess when it was out. Skyward Sword was a little past my time of playing the Wii, but I got to play it at a friend's house. It was really cool. I had a lot of fun playing it. I just never bought it and really invested myself in it. But apparently, a lot of the gaming mechanics from Breath of the Wild were inspired by Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword apparently innovated Zelda and kind of built upon Twilight Princess, made something more complex, and it made the combat more involved, and
Uh,
it changed a lot of what was done before in the Zelda franchise and made kind of a precursor to what Breath of the Wild became. And so a lot of what we enjoy about Breath of the Wild was taken from Skyward Sword. So we can look forward to playing it and recognizing kind of what the beauty of Breath of the Wild came from. So I think it'll be something fun to play. It was definitely kind of not what everyone was expecting. I think a lot of people in the gaming community, especially from kind of the Nintendo nostalgia, were expecting something like an improved Ocarina of Time, and I've seen even some fake videos on um, what an Ocarina of Time remastered version would look like on the Switch, I
I've
mean, it
seen
would just be so
those.
amazing.
I've seen
I
those, and they look great.
I saw it and I was watching it with my wife and I'm like, no way. She was like, "Hun, you should buy it." And she never says that about video games, but she knows how much of a fan of Ocarina I am. I even have the Ocarina graphic novel. Like I bought it when I saw it at Target, and not Target, Costco. And I was like, I have to have this because Ocarina of Time was my all-time favorite Zelda game, and somebody sold it to buy themselves an Xbox game, and I will not name that person, but they should feel very sorry for selling my GameCube and my collector's edition Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I mean, I really didn't care about the other game that was with it, but
Yeah,
it's
darn
okay.
David. Darn him.
Darn those people. Yeah, sure. Anyways, it was originally released in 2011 on the Wii, and it's going to be released this summer, on July 16th, 2021, on the Switch. Now, what we're really excited about, ta-da, is a Hyrule-themed Joy-Con released simultaneously with the game on July 16th. I'm very excited for these because they look awesome, and they're in my favorite color, blue and kind of purplish. And they're inspired by the sword and shield that we see in the game. What do you guys think? Are you guys going to be buying those Joy-Cons or what?
Oh, they look really cool. I'm looking at them right now. And is that a skin cover up that I see for the whole Switch itself?
No, I don't think so. They wouldn't.
No, that might be. Oh, okay, hold on. That might be something else. That was probably a skin.
They would.
Yeah, they would, right?
Why not?
No.
I mean, you got to think about it. Nintendo, they're crafty, man. They made a cardboard box fun again, man. With the Switch, made you you don't know what they're gonna do.
Oh, yes. No, man. I mean, that they couldn't have made a product more for me. Like, I just want to have those in my hands. When I first saw them, I mean, if you guys are following us, you can go on our Discord page and check it out. They look amazing. Or you can just look them up on the internet. But there's a lot of other things out there. You might become confused. So check out our page and see what it looks like. You are going to be amazed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely want those. Those look really cool. The last pair of Joy Cons I bought were the Splatoon 2 ones. I think they're purple and orange, I believe, which is really
Yeah.
cool. Splatoon's really cool game. But yeah, so I don't have a lot, but those are definitely something I'm gonna be trying to pre-order and wanting to get.
So you're probably excited for Splatoon 3. Did you watch the trailer for it?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, there was only a little bit, but
Yeah, there was a little bit of like hardly any gameplay really shown, but it seemed like more of a concept. It's going to be pretty different from Splatoon 1 and 2, it looks like.
yeah, hmm yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw that she was on a bus, and supposedly she was with a companion, but I didn't really
yeah, a little.
see that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I heard what they were talking about. It's gonna be like a whole different level, or you know. Um, so I'm definitely gonna be seeing a little bit more information on that to see how what that all entails.
Yeah, that'll be fun to figure out once we have more information. It seemed like it was more of an initial teaser to some of the gameplay and kind of more story focused, kind of taking over a new town. It looks like it's going to be interesting. I don't know too much about the Splatoon franchise, but they look interesting. I mean, I think I'm more familiar with them from Smash Brothers Ultimate, but it looks like it captured my attention. Definitely the attention of my kids. As soon as they saw it, they were like, "Can you buy it for me?" And I'm like, "Hold on to your hats, kids, because what?"
Yeah, like if you kind of think about it, it's pretty much like Nintendo's version of Call of Duty is kind of how I see it. It's
Just
a
with paint and squidlings.
Exactly. Because you get guns, you get different weapons, and you got to kill the opposite team. But at the same time, you got to dominate the ground with your color.
Okay.
So
It's
you
like
could
Bloods
like
and
shoot the other
Crips.
team, knock them down, and then you're
We're
trying to
kids.
color the battleground. That's the only thing that's different with Call of Duty. You're not trying to color the floor. You're just trying to kill the opposite team, or yeah. So
Oh,
it's
I
it's
see.
it's a real fun game. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't
yeah. I
know
think
you
your
can
sons
turn
will
into
enjoy
like a
it.
squid and traverse through the paint in Call of Duty. That's a very interesting
No, you
concept.
can't.
That's cool. I'll have to check that out. Let's move on to our next topic of conversation, and that is the Super Mario movie by Universal. It is written and directed by Chris Meledandri. You guys might recognize this guy. He was the writer and director for. Oh, actually, I don't know if he is a director, but he is uh, the mind behind Despicable Me, the movies, the Minion movies, which is a spin-off of Despicable Me, and also The Secret Life of Pets. The good news is Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, Zelda, and all of the really big Nintendo properties, is involved as a producer. And the plot so far reads as follows. A fearless plumber named Mario travels through an underground labyrinth with his brother Luigi, trying to save a captured princess. Feature film adaptation of the popular video game. I could have probably told you that. But the cast, this is what I want to talk about. We have Alec Baldwin as Mario, Hulk Hogan as Bowser, Kelly Clarkson is Princess Peach, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson is Roy, one of Bowser's clan. What do you guys think? Just from knowing that bit of information, because I don't know how much you guys know about this movie release. There's not much information out there, but there's a full list of the cast, and these are just some of the names that really captured my attention, and I was just like, "What?"
You know, you were saying Hulk Hogan as Bowser, and I was instantly thinking uh, Hulk Hogan coming out. Get out of my way, brother! Boom! Right with Mario, right? Get off my bridge, brother!
Yeah,
Well,
I
he's
saw
got the voice for it for Bowser.
I saw a few videos. I was a little confused on to which one was it, what it was. But yeah, I was. The main thing is I'm like, are they gonna have him talk? Because I mean, I know they've had cartoons of TV series and they're talking and whatnot. But I
Which
don't
is
know. It was
terrible.
just I've I've never watched them.
Yeah, I tried watching them to my shame. I should have known that just by looking at the date, it was like a
Oh,
time when cartoons were just absolutely dreadful. I mean, they all
I
have
was
like
happy
the
just playing the
worst.
games alone. I'm a big fan of Mario.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, who isn't? They're the best. But if you watch the cartoon and you were unfortunate enough to see those, and you can never unsee them or unhear them, they have like the most sloppy New York accents. It is totally like racist towards Italians and has like, "Hey Luigi, let's go get a pizza and some cannolis." You know, like super bad. Like that's how Mario sounds. I mean, you've played the games. He clearly doesn't sound anything like that. But still they get some like hefty sounding New Yorker, right? Really trashy sounding. And then Princess Peach sounds like she's like one of the Desperate Housewives of New Jersey. You know, like it was just
she had,
terrible.
she had New Jersey.
She's like, I'm from Patterson, baby.
you guys remember it was a live action Mario, but it was super old where Yoshi was like pretty much a dinosaur.
Oh
Dude,
wow.
and then King Koopa was like that dude. Wasn't he the guy from Speed? The one that was gonna blow up the bus?
Oh yeah. What's his name?
I
Let me
was
look at
like,
him real quick.
John Leguizamo was Luigi. I'm like, what is happening, dude? Like,
I remember it vaguely, I just remember looking at Yoshi, and that dude's like a straight up T Rex. I'm like, wait.
He was Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis Lee Hopper.
I'm like, man, why did they do this? Like, I swear they got people to make movies that hated these intellectual properties. Like, that is not the way you make Mario. Like, why would you do that? Uh, it's a travesty, but I'm glad they are working with Universal. I happen to love The Secret Life of Pets, both of them. So I'm kind of excited in some ways. Looking at the cast, I mean, I think they're talented voice actors, some of them. I think the one that threw me off was Jane Lynch from Glee, and she was also that really tough lady from Wreck-It Ralph. She's the one who likes Fix It Felix Jr., the one who says, "Flattery, don't charge these batteries." And she kind of sounds like an old lady, you know? And that's going to be Princess Daisy. I feel like, I don't
Yeah,
know if they're going to go for that more kind of crude humor that you see from like the Illumination Universal movies.
it's looking
Um,
like it by the cast, so it's
yeah,
possible.
I think Bill Hader is Toad. Um, there's a slew of comedians and some people from SNL that do voices here, which kind of makes me worried for like it's how family friendly it's gonna be being a Mario property. But I think the fact that Miyamoto, who is, his heart and soul is in his Nintendo properties and he's holding them really close to his chest, I think he will keep them faithful to their family friendly image. I mean, they really are strict on that. So I'm confident in some ways. In other ways, I'm kind of worried as to how family friendly they will be. I think they'll be true to the story, though, with him producing it.
Yeah, the cast. I didn't know the cast until you said them right now. Um, so that is a little nerving. Um, it's kind of an off topic, but it's kind of reminded me of the cast for the Borderlands movie.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. What do you think of that?
oh man, that's gonna be hard. I'm a fan of the Borderlands games, and I mean I love Kevin Hart. He's a funny comedian. But to be playing somebody as serious as Roland, we'll see how it goes. And then I know Jack Black, I think, is supposed to be playing the role for Claptrap. But I'm very sketched with the actors they're choosing. You
So
know,
all they need is The Rock, and they basically have Jumanji.
exactly.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, I'm really nervous
I
about
feel like
about these
any
movies
video
coming out.
game any video game adaptation or comic book adaptation either has The Rock or Pedro Pascal at the moment. Like there is literally no comic book or uh video game adaptation that doesn't have Pedro Pascal, who was the Mandalorian, because he's going to be coming out in the Last of Us adaptation, and he came out in Wonder Woman and a Star Wars movie. Like this dude has his hand on everything,
No,
and
of
if it's not
course.
him, it's The Rock. You know what I mean? The Rock is gonna come out in the DC universe. He's gonna come out in. He came out in Jumanji. He's coming out in Mario. He's gonna come out in. He came out in the Fast and Furious. Like, dude, he's coming out in everything. Like, I'm sure there's something missing. Oh, he
I've been
just
getting
came
a
out.
lot of
He's coming out in.
advertisements actually about. I guess they're gonna be doing a movie about his life when he was a kid now too.
Yeah, it just got released. I think the first episode dropped. We're gonna watch it. See what happens. Matthias is obsessed. My son, he's obsessed with The Rock. So we'll probably watch it. See if he'll enjoy it.
And he was
But
Bambi. He was Bambi in an SNL skit. Did you see
oh,
that one? I'll have
no.
I'll link that
I've
one
seen
on
that.
in the Discord. There
Oh
was
my
a lot of people
goodness.
in the comment section that would say I would pay so much money to see this movie. They
You
were
know,
I need to
hey,
watch that.
it was like a cross between the Fast and the Furious and Bambi. It was quite funny.
Oh
dude,
my god.
have you guys seen the trailer for Fast and Furious 9? The fact that there's a Fast and Furious 9, it just bewilders me. But now they've moved on from The Rock since The Rock can't work with Vin Diesel anymore. They just can't get along. He did his own thing with Jason Statham, right? The Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. But Fast and Furious 9, get this. The villain is Dominic Toretto's brother,
Wow.
John, John Cena.
Wow.
I'm just gonna let that sink in for a little bit. Dominic Toretto's brother,
You cannot
after
laugh at
9
that.
movies, his brother is John Cena.
Hey, I gotta give it up to Hobbs and Shaw though. I actually really enjoyed that.
I mean, like John Cena, they're just working their way through the WWE lineup, and then once he's gone, they're gonna team up with John Cena and fight Shawn Michaels or Vince McMahon. Who knows? Like
At this point,
at this point,
The Undertaker, come on now.
the Undertaker.
oh, come
More
on.
likely, it would probably be Batista, but Batista thinks he's too much of an artiste to work with these types.
Well, he's a
But
superhero now. He's a Guardian. Come on now.
Right,
that's
exactly.
true. He's a guardian of the galaxy. His Fast and
Exactly.
Furious stuff is
He's not gonna
beneath
want to be
him.
in the Fast and Furious. He's a really superhero.
He made it to Marvel. He's good.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's like, see, I got this.
But, speaking about how Nintendo likes to hold things close to their chest, we actually recently found out that there was this poster plastered all over social media that Legend of Zelda live action adaptation was going to be released in Netflix, like in 2023 or something like that. And then, I mean, people were like, this can't be real. No, this is real. Come to find out, it might have been real, but because it got leaked and Nintendo's really weird about it getting leaked, they actually pulled the plug on a Netflix adaptation of the Legend of Zelda. And they think that it has something to do with their partnership with Universal, since they're working with Universal to make the Super Mario movie, and they're building a Super Nintendo world in the Universal Studios. There's a Universal Studios in Tokyo, Japan, where the Nintendo world is actually like there. We'll put the video in on our Discord channel, and it's really cool when you look at it. I mean, they have watches that are interactive with the question mark blocks, so that you can like put your thing on it and it shows on your watch that it activated. And if you look on your phone on the app, you'll see like what kind of coins or rewards that you got, and all of these different mazes that are there, and the lines to the rides are interactive. So they have different things like where you press it and you interact with certain objects that are there, and it passes on information to your phone on the app so that you get rewards and you kind of go on a scavenger hunt, and it's super cool, interactive. It looks like it's going to be fun. There's like a couple rides. I think there's a Yoshi ride, there's a Mario Kart ride. Everything looks like you're inside of a Super Mario game. So it's a beautiful aesthetically. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Just being there is going to look like it's going to be a lot of fun. So it has been confirmed that they are construction is underway in Universal Studios Orlando and Universal Studios in California. So it's something to look forward to. That might have been a catalyst to them pulling out their deal with Netflix, or it could have been creative
Up to
differences.
you.
Yeah, but
Um,
we are just not sure.
Yeah, it sounds really awesome. I mean, I've been to Universal Studios and Hogwarts, and the interaction with the wands is actually really cool. Even though it's just like they don't have a lot of interaction, but the stuff you can do with the wand is it's pretty fun. So for
That's
them
cool.
to take that and just to put it into like a Mario, like 10 times as more interactive, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
That's gonna be so much fun.
the cool thing is too, I think you get to choose which watch you have. So it's each watch, it will have like the color and the logo of a specific character. Like my kids all like different characters, you know. Um, Hector, he likes Yoshi, so they have a Yoshi watch. My wife can have a Princess Peach watch. I can have a Mario watch. Zeke loves Luigi. So of course he's gonna have a green Luigi watch, you know, and they all have a different logo and different colors. So it's super cool. It's customizable. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But
You
Super
know,
Mario
they're gonna have
movie,
like all characters, so you can even choose like Bowser or like Dry Bones, or you can use the little ghosts and
I
stuff.
think they might go as far as like Waluigi and Wario. I'm not too sure. We'll have to go back and look at the video. So viewers, I may not have all the answers. You'll have to go to the I may be speaking more than is available, but I do remember there being like I think at least 4 or 5 different options for the watch. Um, I think Nintendo secretly hates Waluigi, so there may not be a Waluigi watch because I mean he's not in Smash. They're definitely not going to make him a watch. So probably not a Waluigi one, but definitely um, Peach, Mario, Luigi. I think Yoshi, maybe Toad. I don't know. You'll have to watch the video.
I was just saying, like, well, I mean, is it weird for me to say I'm kind of glad that they like pulled the plug on the Link adaptation?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's something where no matter what voice Link is gonna have, it's gonna be disappointing. It's
Yes.
like
So,
it's a whole Master Chief thing again. As
Hmm.
soon as you see Master
yes.
Chief's face, you're gonna be disappointed. As soon as we hear Link talk, it's gonna be just like, nope, no, that's not what I envisioned. Because
Yes.
I mean, everybody
That
has their own imagination on that. So I just like that's something hard.
I mean, you kind of hear him say, "Hiya," you know, and the little
Yeah.
grunts and noises that he makes, but that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate to a fully animated voice.
It's very
And
yeah. Those are very hard to pull off. I mean, because you don't really get to hear it. For example, like one of the franchises I'm a big fan of is The Witcher, and
mhm.
but see, you do get to hear him a lot in the game, and I think that it was well done in the Netflix series. Now with Link, you don't really hear his voice. The Master Chief, you don't see his face, and so we're just so ingrained and used to that being a thing, so that when you do hear it, no matter how good, how close it may be, it just won't be good.
You know, it worked for the Mandalorian in the Master Chief kind of case. Like when we watched um the Mandalorian, he was never supposed to take his helmet off, and then he finally did. You know, at first he removed it and he was all beat up, but the next time he did it, um, you know, you could see his face, and it was kind of like, you know what, I'm okay with that. You
Hmm.
know, so I think if as long as it's somebody who's very well like admired, and or it's someone whose face is completely new, um,
That
and
would
you can
help.
kind of you can like typecast it to where it'd be like, oh, that guy's forever now going to be Master Chief in my mind. That might work. Of course, now it would have to be somebody who is culturally diverse so that everyone can be happy with it. But um, in the case of Link, I do think that they can make an animated feature uh, where Link does not have to necessarily talk. I feel like Age of Calamity, Breath of the Wild, we're all okay with him never speaking, you know? And but he would have to have like a companion character that like, uh, kind of like a, what's his name? The Dandelion, and the Witcher character. You know how Dandelion's kind of all around for the comic relief, where
Hmm.
like he almost is like the voice for him, you know? Like I love how Dandelion is I forget what he calls him in the actual show, but
Jaskier, I think.
Jaskier, yes. Like you know how he's kind of like the comic relief that's just like another element of the story that kind of makes you enjoy like the comedy side of The Witcher. Like if you have Zelda always around him or like Impa and like just like now there's such a library of characters that can help you have the voice around Link or even
That's
have
a
the
good point.
fairy that's just around him where he doesn't necessarily have to do the talking. There's a character that does the talking for him. I think I can get behind an animated um, feature film, or maybe like that 3D anime look that Breath of the Wild has, and just make a film. Somebody even brought up, I think it was on IGN, the Nintendo voice chat. that it would be cool if they did a TV series where every season was a different game, where like it starts off with as Ocarina of Time, where it's young Link kind of coming of age, and then the next one, or even do like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, then Twilight, and then finish off Ocarina of Time, and then kind of create, like you were saying, kind of like a linear story that leads up to, what it is now. It would take a lot of work because, I mean, the Zelda and Link dynamic has changed so much over time. But I just feel like there's just so many characters now. The world has grown so large that there's a lot they can do. You know, they can focus on the world that Nintendo is currently building around Link and Zelda and Age of Calamity and all that stuff. But they have enough source material. They have enough characters to where something could work. I do think it was the right call to pull out from Netflix. I agree with you, Gabe. So hopefully this doesn't mean the end of a Legend of Zelda adaptation. I do think live action is the worst thing that they could do for The Legend of Zelda. We've seen people try it. It's just not good. It doesn't work. They need to have an animated film for that, or an animated series.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's move on. Super Mario movie is slated for theatrical release in 2022, so we still have another year before we're going to see that in theater. Hopefully, by the end of this year, we'll see some kind of either teaser trailer or something to help us look forward to it. WandaVision. Are you guys watching it? Why or why not?
I have not been watching it.
You're fired.
Ditto on that. I have not been watching it either.
Are you guys even Marvel fans?
I'm actually.
I don't understand this. Luis is looking it
Yeah,
up. He
I
doesn't even know
love
what
Wolverine.
WandaVision is.
I'm just kidding.
So, for those of you who don't know, apparently my co-hosts here are uncultured, but my wife and I were very unsure about WandaVision when it first came out. It wasn't until probably about episode 3 that we really started to get engaged. But what really helped us were IGN's cannon fodder videos and their reviews of each episode. They helped provide context, much needed context, to keep us engaged. It follows similar themes to the House of M comic book storyline, which, I'm an avid comic book reader and collector. And it opens up many opportunities for the MCU to expand beyond Avengers and more into the X-Men universe, which is really exciting. The first 2 episodes are very much sitcoms, and you're kind of like wondering, what is this even about? But then once you get into episode 3, it kind of breaks through that fourth wall. Then it shows that it's not, a sitcom. It's actually an alternate reality that that Wanda Maximoff is manipulating, and it's pretty crazy because everything that's happening in this alternate reality is actually true and it's real, but she is controlling it, and a lot of things are actually out of her control. So there's clearly somebody pulling the strings, but that's what they're trying to figure out outside of the alternate reality that's being formed. And new characters are being revealed, but apparently there's going to be a cataclysmic battle that ties into Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, which is coming out on March 25th, 2022. Now, spoiler alert, it's kind of late because I've just told you everything that's been going on in the show up until now, but Quicksilver, played by Evan Peters from the X-Men franchise, comes in, which opens the door for more X-Men mutants to show up in the MCU, and possibly even an Avengers versus X-Men arc, which if you haven't read that comic book, why haven't you read it? But now that you guys know all of this, what do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely quite interesting. I was actually looking some things up, and I even put, when I search WandaVision, Paisa, I know. I realized it was Wanda.
WandaVision.
WandaVision. So yeah.
Like Wanda and Vision.
And then I
Two characters
believe
from the Marvel movies.
I was looking at the cast. Definitely good cast. I've seen those actors before. Um, was Ultron on there?
Ultron plays a very important role into the creation of Vision,
Yeah.
who is her lover. He's a vibranium android, basically. And Wanda is like an incredibly powerful witch, kind of. She has like witch-like powers. And her brother was Quicksilver. And in the comic books, they're actually Magneto's kids, but they don't, because Disney and 21st Century Fox owned 20th Century Fox owned X-Men, and then the Marvel, was owned by Disney, so they couldn't make that relation. But in this last episode, since Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, now X-Men characters can be included into the Avengers like MCU world, and they just did that when they brought Quicksilver in from the X-Men movies into WandaVision. It opened this multiverse up, and now that we know Doctor Strange 2 is called the Multiverse of Madness, and the next Spider-Man movie that's coming out is going to be a multiverse movie where Tobey Maguire is going to be coming out as Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield is going to be coming out as Spider-Man. There's going to be 3 Spider-Men. Anything is possible. So it's very exciting. I recommend that you guys watch it. And if you are watching this, please roast these 2 guys for not watching it in the comment section. I want you guys to come up with your worst insults for these guys for not watching it. And I will be excited to read those and laugh about them later, and they will cry. Moving on.
Oh boy.
You guys got to watch it. Star Wars Hunters by Zynga. I know you guys are more excited about this because we all love Star Wars. But here's the thing. It's by Zynga. So, first impressions. What were your first impressions by watching this 20-second trailer of Star Wars Hunters? Starting with you, Gabe.
I was really confused because of the lack of information. You just see these holograms of all these people, and then a door open, and there's a battleground in there. It's like, okay, cool. There's gonna be Jedi in there. You see that green lightsaber up in the smoke. But yeah, I'm like, well, okay, what is this? Is it gonna be another battleground type of deal where everybody is just trying to survive, and you're gonna try to be the winner of everybody, or like I was totally confused. I was excited because it was Star Wars. Completely confused because that's all I know.
Yeah. Well, it's a very initial sneak peek into I think what is a concept right now, and it's just trying to build the hype, but I see you. I went from happy to angry, skip sad. Luis, what was your first impression of the trailer?
Gabe's right. I mean, the trailer doesn't give you much, and this is a common thing with Star Wars. I've seen a lot of developers use Star Wars this way. I mean, you could just have the title alone, and people like me are like, oh, I want to play, I want to play. But the thing is, you don't know what type of game it's going to be. I mean, Star Wars Hunters, it definitely sounds like, and it feels like it's going to be some type of shooter possibly. And just being a big Battlefront myself, even though it's like the most popular, it's a game like Call of Duty with a Star Wars skin. And if I'm transparent, that makes it fun for me. I mean, with Star Wars, you can go so many ways. There's so many things you can do out there with that, such an immersive world. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know the direction that they're heading. It definitely was a fun trailer. It got my attention. So I guess we'll just have to be tuned in and see how it develops.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that just seeing a Star Wars game being released is kind of a big deal because for a very long time, EA Games has had an exclusive deal with Lucas Games to only be able to produce Star Wars games. So nobody's been making Star Wars game other than EA Games for a very long time, and they're very slow to produce games, and that's what's been very frustrating for people. So seeing a game like this, that it's like the first non-EA Games Star Wars game being released is kind of a big deal. But the rumor has it that This game, Star Wars Hunter, will be a free-to-play online third-person shooter that will be a cross between Battlefront and Fortnite. The look definitely gives me Fortnite vibes, but I would be excited for a return to like Battlefront 2 type gameplay akin to the PS2 version. The criticisms, though, are that Zynga is best known as a mobile game developer rather than console, so many are worried it will follow a mobile freemium format where they make games, but really it's more about it's free to play, but you really have to spend money to get the most out of the game. Because like Zynga, if you look on your, in your app store and you look up Zynga, the games that you find are Words with Friends, Texas Hold'em, Farmville, and other like really generic ad-ridden games. So now that we know that, are you looking forward to Star Wars Hunter or just happy for another Star Wars release? What do you think, Louis?
Yeah. What's that game right now? Star Wars Galaxy Heroes?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
by EA Games.
that's by EA Games. You know, definitely that. Yeah, the game is fun, and I have put money into it. And like I said, because I'm a Star Wars fan myself. But yeah, it is. It is definitely that free to play. The freemium games do get annoying because of just they design the game so that you're starving for resources, and then you have to put money in to play it. But I guess if you're someone who just plays it once in a while, it can be okay. So seeing that this game is owned by a developer like that, it definitely reduces my anticipation for it. It's more of it becomes more of like a meh type of game.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Gabe?
I'm probably a little more optimistic about it because if they get towards the turn for like a mobile game, then I mean you can see Call of Duty has that Call of Duty mobile, and that is doing really well. I know that their seasons go by. They're I don't remember. I think they're like ahead of like the system seasons, and
Oh
they
wow.
started sooner. Yeah. So if it's gonna be a phone game like a shooter style like that, then maybe it'll be decent. I don't know. I'm just being optimistic. I'm not
Yeah.
totally like knocking it really. Just want
Yeah.
to see how it is.
We hope for
I
the
mean,
best, just as Star Wars fans.
yeah, I mean, it's a different Star Wars game, so I'm like, cool, let's see what it is.
As long as it's Star Wars something, we're just excited to have it out. All right. Last but
Exactly.
not least, the last thing we're going to visit and talk about is the Mortal Kombat trailer. We're all stoked. We all love Mortal Kombat. Now it's going to be released as a movie that's worth watching. At least that's what it looks like from the trailer. Have you guys seen it? Are you stoked?
Finish him. I'm stoked.
Exactly.
I'm
That's
stoked.
all there is to it.
This, no, I really am. I mean, the last film. Let me look it up. What was the last film that was released? Um,
In like the 90s,
it,
super campy. Like,
and it definitely a '90s film. I enjoyed it very much. So I
I did too. Yeah,
so I'm
I enjoyed
definitely
it.
looking forward to it.
I mean, it was the 90s. This was when we were watching like Three Ninjas. It was like little kids beating up grown-ups in like an amusement park and they got away with it. So why not a Mortal Kombat movie and a Street Fighter movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme is Guile, who's clearly an American soldier.
Yeah, it was 1995 Mortal Kombat, and when Robin Shu was the main character as Liu Kang. I remember that now.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was a fun movie, enjoyable.
Hmm.
Not quite to the caliber of this one coming out. I mean, it looks great, right? So it's going to be directed by Simon McCoy, an Australian filmmaker who doesn't really have any major films on his belt.
Hmm.
So this is going to be like his first major
Hmm.
project. And there aren't a lot of big names, but it still looks pretty awesome. The most notable is Hiroyuki Sanada, who's going to be playing Scorpion. You might recognize him from The Last Samurai, 47 Ronin, and the Wolverine movie. Other characters are going to be Sonya Blade, Jax, Kano, Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Shang Tsung, Raiden, and Melina. Also, Goro. by the way, looks amazing. The visual effects guys did a great job with making him look legit, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he
Dude,
looked wow.
they brought
Yeah,
Goro in. Pretty
that,
amazing.
that's pretty awesome.
Now,
Yeah,
the only thing that people are really skeptical about is the addition of the original character, Cole Young, who is basically the eyes of discovery for the audience that learns things as we do. Now, clearly, this is going to be a hard rated R movie with a lot of gory violence. They will feature fatalities and signature moves and the origins of the rivalry between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Like,
I
I'm
mean, it
mainly excited about that.
wouldn't be a Mortal Kombat movie without any of that stuff. Like, come on.
Indeed.
You say Mortal Kombat, the first thing you think is blood and finishers, and just limbs, organs, eyeballs, brains flying everywhere.
Yes. And just from the trailer, you get to see all of that.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing, like it didn't seem cheesy at all, was when Scorpion says, "Get over here."
Oh yeah,
Like,
that was
dude,
good.
Sub-Zero is like a total baddie in this movie, which I love. Sub-Zero was always my favorite character. Like anytime, everyone was always Liu Kang, dude. I was Sub-Zero. I was freezing people up. I love that. I love Sub-Zero, and I love that he's a bad guy because usually they paint Scorpion in kind of like the bad light, but I love that they're kind of giving the origins of why Scorpion became who he was, and apparently the actor who played Scorpion really helped them get a good Japanese historical background and elements of his armor and everything, kind of with traditional Japanese history with samurai and that rivalry between the rivalry between those two clans. So it's gonna be really cool. Louis, did you have anything? You look like you were gonna say something and then held back.
Oh, when you mentioned the Japanese clothing styles, I'm actually looking at the YouTube clips here of Mortal Kombat, and at first I saw him with just like the hoodie part or the cap.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the cap and the mask, and then I scroll down below and there's one with a hoodie, and then the mask definitely looked more like the samurai, elite samurai look.
Yeah, it's gonna be epic. I'm really excited about it. There's a really cool video out there where the director actually talks about uh, his vision for the film. They tried to really get the kind of balance of violence and really serious drama involved with Mortal Kombat, but also kind of the humor as well. So I mean, there's it's gonna be, it's gonna have its humor. It's gonna be kind of funny, but not to the point where it's gonna kind of take away from the dramatic violence and story that they're really developing. I think that over time, Mortal Kombat did a really great job of developing their storyline. So it's not just beating each other to the pulp, but also a really gripping story where they're really building kind of a universe. And dude, I loved Mortal Kombat versus the DC universe. I still sometimes go on YouTube and just watch the cinematic storyline of Mortal Kombat in the DC universe. It's just such a good game. Greatest game, one of the greatest games of all time for me is Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. You guys agree?
Oh
Mhm.
yes.
Definitely,
Wasn't
definitely.
that just the coolest?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, how many of
Yeah.
us didn't love being Liu Kang and Kung Lao side by side, going through portals and just beating up enemies with Mortal Kombat moves? Why haven't they made a sequel?
Yeah, it was the first
Right.
time that you started playing a Mortal Kombat co-op. So that was fun to play with,
Yeah.
especially if you have people over. It wasn't like who's the best one there or the frustrations of losing. It was like, no, get your buddy, let's get together, let's go beat up some bad guys. It definitely was fun.
Yeah,
Right.
like for the first time, you don't fight each other. You fight alongside each other and fight enemies.
And just the intro alone is just gets you hyped up for it. Just watching the intro, and then like I I think we talked to this about this before, and you're like that intro could have just been a movie itself because it's just so
Exactly.
good.
Exactly. And I think you get to
Yeah.
be Oh no, I think you're pretty much Liu Kang and Kung Lao the whole time, but being Sub-Zero and Scorpion would be so cool. Like, I know they hate each other, but I think at one point they made a story where there's like good Sub-Zero and then evil Sub-Zero, which I thought was a really interesting way to kind of change the narrative around Sub-Zero. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be released on HBO Max April 16th, 2021. So we can look forward to that. If you don't have HBO Max, get it because Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to be released. The Snyder Cut. It's going to be a 4-hour DC movie. You're not going to want to miss it because Joss Whedon destroyed Zack Snyder's vision for Justice League, and this one's going to be way better. So you need HBO Max anyway for that. So you get Mortal Kombat too. Just get it. It's good. By the way, we're not getting paid by HBO or Warner Brothers for that. So just take our word for it. It's worth it. In conclusion, that's everything for today's show. If you enjoyed our video, please make sure that you like it below by hitting the like button and subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any suggestions or topics you'd like us to discover or discuss, let us know in the comments below. Thank you, Gabe, for being a part of our video. We'll have to invite you back for another session. For Louie, I'm Fonz, and we will see you next time for Switch Focus. Bye, guys.
Thanks for having